He's such a funny.
San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? Happy Tuesday out there. It's always tough coming off an off day. The worst thing to possibly have is an off day after getting swept. Not only for players, but also for fans. You have to sit in that sweep the entire weekend up until today. And then even today, you got to sit through till 4 o'clock. I'm at home yesterday, and my brother brought this up. Totally true. He says, God, days without Padres baseball, it seem like they last forever. It's like waiting for the sun to go down. I had softball yesterday. I played at 9 and 10. And so, I had to wait it out. My 6 o'clock game got forfeited by the other team, which I didn't really mind. But that being said, I agree. I was just sitting there going what am I going to do? What am I doing for the next couple of hours? I've been so ingrained with watching Padres baseball. It's must-watch television. It's appointment viewing, whether it's TV or radio here in San Diego. I ended up putting the Dodger game on. Boo, boo. I even tweeted about it. People are freaking out. Come on, guys. You got to act like it's another team. You can't be super into the rivalry that level. When we play them, sure, go ahead. Not playing them, relax. I've already pissed off Nate Taylor in the chat. Whoa. God forbid. But the only thing that was on that I thought was worth watching, because I'm in baseball mode, right? First of all, I'm in 2 modes. I'm in football mode in coaching, spring football, which is very much tedious stuff. And all of your you don't have all your players because they're still playing spring sports, and you got playoff spring sports, and we got the brackets yesterday for CIF baseball we could talk about. Get all the shout-outs to all the players that are going to be playing CIF playoff baseball going on for the next couple of weeks or so. Track and field at CIF over the weekend. I had 3 players that won CIF on the 4x100, set a school record. Congratulations to Honor Falave. Congratulations to Parker Johnson. Congratulations to Aiden Smith-McGlynn. 3 of my guys that I coached high school football when CIF. They have another member of their 4x that I don't coach, so I'm blanking on his name. But that being said, shout out to those 3 young men that set a school record, which is great. They're going on to state. So we don't have them for the week. They got to be fresh for track. Can't have them pull a hamstring during football practice. But anyway, with football, it's just so you're getting a lot of kids opportunities right now in spring ball. You can't wear pads in California. It's all no pad stuff. So it's very fundamental stuff. So that's the football I'm locked in on. And I'm locked in on baseball. I watched a little bit of the NBA playoffs as it went about. I mean, you're getting down to the nitty gritty now with that in the NHL. And it's I don't have a team, so it's hard. And my NHL team, the Anaheim Ducks, have not made the playoffs in God knows how long. So I'm locked into baseball right now, in baseball season, and a little bit of football. And in doing so, the game that was on last night was the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. I haven't watched a lot of Dodgers baseball this year. I don't really care what they're doing. I'm focus on the Padres. You know, I've watched some NL West opponents sporadically throughout the season. And this is really the first time I sat down and watched the Dodger game. And it was just one game. But they looked like the Keystone Cops last night. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like the outfield was just a circus. I don't know how many days Max Muncy has left on the Los Angeles Dodgers. They DFA'd Chris Taylor. They've DFA'd Austin Barnes. I'd imagine Max Muncy is on the next way out. But I'm watching that team going like, this is it. I don't want to underestimate them. You know, we don't play them until June. Middle of June, we'll play them back-to-back weeks, once here and once in LA. And you can't view it as like a curse thing. I'm watching that team last night, and I'm just going like, this is the squad? This is the squad. Just like, couldn't believe it. But I enjoyed the Diamondbacks teed off on those guys early. I mean, the pitching for the Dodgers was not very good from the starting sense. The fielding was atrocious. At one point, my dad goes, "Oh, this game's over." I would never say that at Dodger Stadium. I've seen the Dodgers run some devil magic and be able to pull a victory out of out of nowhere, and they almost did last night. They pulled within 4 runs, but they took an L last night. They didn't look very good. They didn't look overly that impressive. I mean, the bottom of their order is not very good, and I know everybody likes it. And we're sometimes we're in a vacuum here. Sometimes we're in a vacuum. And we're just thinking about the Padres, which is fine. And you're worried about 7, 8, 9 in the order, and you're worried about the bottom half of the order. I'm telling you right now, you look at everybody else in baseball, nobody's excited for 7, 8, 9 in the batting order. I mean, nobody. There are not a lot of teams out there that got a good 7, 8, 9 hitter. But last night, you're watching, just the fielding was bad, the pitching was bad. Offensively, they're okay. I think Arizona's pretty good. But even Arizona, like their bottom 3 in their order is not great either. This thing's wide open. And the good news about yesterday, the Dodgers lost. Fantastic. After an off day, where the Padres are Padres get swept this weekend, right? And they don't play yesterday. And they're now a half game out of first place. That's like you couldn't ask for anything better than that. Sure, you're only a half game in front of the Giants now, but if the Giants would have won last night, they would have passed you in the standings. Instead, Giants take an L, Dodgers take an L. You're still 2.5 games in front of Arizona. You got a tight race in the National League West, as we expect. But for the Padres to get swept over the weekend and then have an off day on Monday and only be a half game out of first place, couldn't ask for any better results. And now you got to take advantage against Toronto for the next 3 days. Padres haven't done well against the American League. Does it matter? Kind of, not really. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I mean, the Padres' interleague struggles, are they a little over-exaggerated? They might be. I mean, if you look around Major League Baseball, especially the National, what's funny is the National League, I think, is superior to the American League. But you know what? When it comes to head-to-head, they're not really doing that great of a job. You start going through some of the interleague records, and it's not great. A lot of 500 teams are worse. The only team that's doing well against the American League is Chicago Cubs. They're 8-1. But you don't even know what American League teams they've played. Padres are 10-14. Rockies 2-13. That's not surprising. But a lot of 500 records in the in the interleague play. And the Padres had to play a lot of teams already in the American League. I don't think they're cursed by the American League. I know a lot of people want to freak out about that. But you got to be able to go up there and take 2 out of 3 from a Toronto Blue Jays team that's 22-24. We'll get a full preview on that later on. Dan Shulman, Blue Jays broadcaster, will join us at 10:30 and kind of move things around a little bit. That Pacific East Coast time, man. Central time. I don't. Toronto Central or Eastern? Do we know?
East.
East. Is Detroit East? That part of the country gets weird for me.
I think they are. Now I gotta check.
Because like that section of the country where it's not the East Coast, but it's not necessarily the Midwest. What is that? The Mid-Atlantic?
Yeah, Detroit's east.
That part of the country like confuses me on Eastern and Central time zones. And the one that why it confuses me is in the state of Tennessee, they split. Knoxville is in Eastern time zone. Nashville is in Central time zone. It's like 2.5 hours away in the same state. Every time. It's like, oh, driving to Knoxville from Nashville. We lose an hour. What are you talking about? We lose an hour. If I hit this button, is it going to show the chat on the side? Oh, wow. Look at that. That is diabolical. I do not want to enhance the chat like that. But I saw this one. Here for the Mike Swings. Frank has now made Mike Swings famous. Up there it is. There it is. Phenomenal. Anyway. Yesterday, kind of hate watched the Dodgers a little bit. It was the only thing that was on TV, but I will say this. The Padres, as much as we like to complain about everything, which is fine. Sometimes you got to get things off your chest. But as J.J. Cooper said yesterday on the show, you could be a lot of other teams right now in Major League Baseball. Baltimore Orioles, one of those teams, 15-31 to start the year. They had higher expectations than the Padres going into the season. I don't even think that's that brash to say. But the fact that you get swept by Seattle and you have an off day today, and you're only a half game out of first place, you're still in the deal. It's a long season. You got to weather the storm. We'll get you a full preview with Toronto in 10:30 when Dan Shulman joins the show. We'll talk about left field a little bit more. Maybe there is another opportunity for somebody else on the Padres roster to be a left fielder that's not really playing left field right now. Update on some of the pitchers going on rehab outings. There's an interesting article about Juan Soto and the miserable Subway series he had. We have a resident Mets fan here. We could pick his brain a little bit. And then later on in the 1 o'clock hour, got a couple of different things that we want to talk about around sports. But at 12:30, I thought Kevin Acee wrote a great article on Manny Machado. Did Manny Machado permanently change the Padres? I think there's a good case to be said about that. We'll talk more as we just get the show rolling. If you want to join the show today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Braden Surprenant Show just getting started on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. I'm dying laughing, dude. I like the chat. I threw it on the StreamYard now, so you can actually like show the comments on the video. I'm a little nervous about this because you guys say some insane things, but the funniest comment of the day so far, and there's been funny comments. Go Aztecs on Twitch. After I put the YouTube chat and because when he's on Twitch and he comments, he can't see like what's going on the other platforms. And now with this new feature, he can see it all. Go Aztecs goes, oh no, now I can see the YouTube chat. Oh, I was cracking up during the break when I saw that comment. Every once in a while, some of you guys got some great comments. Some great comments. There was another one in there that was dying with too. It's like, oh yeah, the Darren had one about his jury duty experience. Hilarious. Keep it up. We're off to a good start. On a Padres off day, following an off day, well done. And then, of course, my friends like to go in there and say I suck at softball, which is not even close to being true. I do not believe the lies and slander from Sushi Sam in the chat. For all you chat people out there. Now, all you chat people, we only have 3 likes. Give us a like. It would help us out on the YouTube page. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, be sure to follow me on social media at @B_SURP. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on X. Follow me on TikTok. You can follow Frank Marchese as well. Frank Marchese on social media at FMarks324, MARKZ, FMARKZ324. Plus, you can follow the show at B_SURP show on social media as well. We really appreciate that.
See, the best way to remember my username is just think of how it's supposed to be said. MARKZ. M-A-R-K.
I like that.
There it is.
Marchese. We appreciate you guys doing that. If you haven't done so, and I appreciate people that did this anyway, like our loyal listener, Tessa. She goes out there, supports us every day in the chat, watches us on YouTube, but then subscribe to us in the podcast form to help boost our numbers on the podcast. That's a round of applause. We appreciate that as well. There we go. Goes a long way. And we're going to get you a full scouting report on the Toronto Blue Jays in just a little bit when Dan Shulman joins the show. He's play-by-play man for the Toronto Blue Jays. He has also done a lot of stuff with ESPN. He used to be the voice of Sunday Night Baseball. He resigned from that to spend more time with his family and work in Toronto. He still does do college basketball and does it with Jay Billis. And there's a couple things I want to ask him about that I find interesting. Obviously, we had Rick Riz on last week. I find the broadcaster advice and everything like that interesting for myself. I think a lot of people find it interesting as well. But there's some news that Dan Shulman broke in his career that I want to know about his story on that, because it was some pretty important world news when he was doing Sunday Night Baseball and the kind of the background of the story on how he was able to do it. Plus, we will get a full preview of the Toronto Blue Jays series and what the Blue Jays are doing right now. If you want to join the show today, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. I did want to mention there's a couple of things we're going to talk about later on in the show. We're going to talk about Juan Soto's miserable Subway series and what he just doesn't get about signing the contract that he got. There's some repercussions with some of these contracts that you sign. It goes with the territory of getting paid $750-something million. You're not going to be liked by everybody. You're especially not going to be liked by the team that you left. That played a huge role, I think, over the weekend for the Yankees and the Mets. We're going to talk about that in the 11 o'clock hour. And the 12 o'clock hour, one of our colleagues at one of our sister stations, WEEI in Boston, he might win Are You Good of the Year. Bro, are you good? Are you good? I can't believe some of the comments he had about Alex Cora missing a game for his daughter's graduation. Frank's initial reaction to that was, got to fire the guy. It's not dedicated enough. Sarcastically, of course. We'll talk about that in the noon hour. I think there's some people out there. You might be one of them. I'm going to talk. I think I do a good job of talking you guys off the ledge. I'm a fair guy. I'm going to keep things neutral. You can't get too high. You can't get too low. I talked about that a lot yesterday. There are a lot of people, man, I'm telling you right now, that just think the Padres and the American League, they just can't beat the American League. Can't do it. Well, statistically, they're 5-13 in interleague play since playing. Frank put this on the rundown just to say this. Just to say this. Because I know, because you brought it up yesterday. And you love this term so much, I'll just let you say it. Where did this come from? And what is it? Since the Padres played blank, they're 5-13 in interleague play. Please fill in the blank.
Oaklamento.
Thank you.
Came from the San Francisco Giants play-by-play television booth over the weekend.
Oaklamento. You need the didn't. Oaklamento. Since the Padres played Oaklamento, they're 5-13 in interleague play. Have a negative 22 run differential in interleague play this season. Overall, they're 10-14 against the American League. Most teams are below 500 in interleague play. Only the Brewers have played more interleague games than the Padres. They've played 28. The Padres have played 24. They're about to play 3 more against the Blue Jays this week. They're playing around 500 against the American League. And so you look at it, and the interleague play, I like interleague play for a sense of growing the game and theoretically being able to see all of the players in Major League Baseball roll through your town once every 2 years. I think that's good for baseball. I personally like it. And for me, here's where the difference. And I've heard disagreements on the new schedule. Like Tony Gwynn Jr. hates it because he likes seeing the games against the Dodgers and the Giants. I like those games too. You know what I don't like? I don't like games against the Rockies. I hate games against the Rockies. I don't want to play the Rockies 19 times. It gets boring. It gets stale. You can't just go with we're losing the best games. Well, yeah, you're losing a couple of the best games, but you're also losing some of the bad games in the division. Who enjoys watching the Padres play the Rockies at Coors Field? Who is excited? I know nobody in the chat's excited for that. It's either a trap game or you're going to beat the living hell out of those guys. And it's been more of a trap game than beating the living hell out of the Rockies. It does nothing for me. I get zero excitement out of a Tuesday night against Colorado. Absolutely none. What I do get excitement with, seeing the New York Yankees come to town every 2 years. The traditional New York Yankees. Here's their Tiffany and Company logo. Ah, cool. Hey. The Boston Red Sox. Playing the Boston Red Sox at home once every 2 years and playing them every year. That's fun. Seeing teams that you don't get to see all the time. Padres diehard. I would love to play the Rockies 19 times. We'd be 19-0. No, you wouldn't. You'd have at least one loss. You already have one loss against them this year. You would just get frustrated when they finally beat you a couple times because the cliche goes, that's baseball. The 21-0 game was fun. Was the game on Sunday that weekend fun? No, I don't get excited for games against the Rockies. I like watching good. I like it now, the hyped up of playing a good team. Or get that hype of playing in a cathedral stadium. An MLB cathedral. Something that's like, oh, this is world famous. So the interleague games, it's a hard toss-up because it's not, I mean, they matter in the standings, but at the same time, you see them once a year. I don't know what the prep is like. I know the Padres do a really good job with their preparation for a series, but I don't get like overly upset about playing these teams in the American League because it's more of like, they're not like friendlies, but they kind of are. And if you're not very good against the American League and you're really good against the National League, you really don't have to worry about it in October until the last series. And at that point, you got to win 4 games. So I don't really, the American League, like, oh, we can't beat the American. I don't really care. I'm not that into it. Plus, you're 4 games under 500 against the American League. They're still going to play the White Sox. There's still a lot of teams out there in the American League aren't very good that you got to go out there and play. Padres played a lot of good teams in the American League. Look at the American League standings. Mariners in first place. Just played them. Detroit's in first place. Played them. Injured. Yankees are in first place. You've already played them. Astros you've played. The A's you've played. The Angels you've played. The Guardians you've played. I mean, you played a lot of teams in the American League already. You're going to play some lousy teams coming up in the American League. I mean, who knows? By the time the Orioles play the Padres, what kind of team they're going to have? What kind of team are the Blue Jays going to have? We'll get you a full preview when we come back. Dan Shulman, who is a play-by-play broadcaster for the Toronto Blue Jays, joins us next on the Braden Surprenant Show, standing as on one sports station 97 through the Fan. 10:34 in the morning out here on the Pacific Coast. Braden Surprenant show rolls on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We're going to get you a preview of the upcoming series between the Padres and the Toronto Blue Jays, as we are now joined by the phenomenal broadcaster who has had an illustrious career, is broadcasting now for the Toronto Blue Jays. He is their lead play-by-play man. He has done that for a long time and then took a little bit of a break, went back, did some stuff for ESPN. He was the broadcaster for Sunday Night Baseball. He continues to do college basketball for ESPN. His name is Dan Shulman. He joins me on the Braden Surprenant show. Dan, what's going on? How's your Tuesday going?
Well, thank you for all that, Braden. I really appreciate that. You just made my Tuesday a little better saying all those nice things. So I appreciate it, but all is good. We had an off day yesterday, and as you know, baseball announcers and players treasure off days, so recharge the batteries and back at it tonight.
Well, Dan, we've had a handful of broadcasters on our show. I do play-by-play at the University of San Diego. I like to pick the brains a little bit of the play-by-play men that have done such a great job before we break down the team. You've had a great career. What is the best advice you would give a young up-and-coming play-by-play man? I know your son is one of those as well, but what kind of advice would you give to anybody that's in our audience that's looking up to potentially be a play-by-play broadcaster?
So I give the same two bits of advice. I get asked some variation of this a fair bit. One is, don't get into this unless you're willing to work hard. And I'm sure you work very hard, but like if somebody's 17 years old and boy, that looks like the coolest job and I want to do that, awesome, but it's a lot of work. It's, as you know, you're preparing for your team and the other team, or like when I'm at ESPN, you're preparing for two teams who aren't, quote, your team. It's a lot of work, a lot of flying around, a lot of early flights or late flights. And it takes a lot of, I believe it takes a lot of preparation. I really admire those who put a lot of work in, and I believe I can watch another game and tell who's putting the work in. So that would be one. The second one would be, think of the crew that you work with just like a team, whether it's a baseball team, basketball team, doesn't matter. They're all your teammates, the analyst, the reporter, the producer, the director, the camera people, the tape people, the audio people, et cetera, et cetera. They're all your teammates. And it takes a lot of people to put a good show on the air. So at the end of the day, or even at the beginning of the day, I'm not thinking about, boy, how can I make myself look good or anything like that. I'm thinking about how can we have a good show. And I think being a good team is very important.
Dan Shulman, Blue Jays broadcasters, going to give us a preview of the upcoming series between the Padres and the Blue Jays from the side of the Blue Jays. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you just from a play-by-play sense, and that's, when you have to go into non-sports news during a broadcast, you had a moment in time where you had to sit on and then break the news as you were on Sunday Night Baseball when the death of Osama bin Laden happened. How were you able to go through that? And as a broadcaster, what was that moment like for you in your career?
Honestly, it was probably the trickiest night of my career on a number of levels. So first of all, I'm not really trained in news. I'm trained in sports. Right. Second of all, I'm Canadian. And I wanted to be incredibly respectful and careful with my words. I just didn't want to say the wrong thing. So I played it very, very safe. If you go back and listen to it, not that you should, and not that I have in many years, I played it incredibly safe, just reported the news. So here's what happened. Bobby Valentine was part of our Sunday night crew. I was working with Bobby and Oral Hershiser. Bobby was sitting beside me and nudged me with his elbow and showed me his phone, showed me a text on his phone. And the whole text was, "We got bin Laden." And I looked at him and he looked at me, and like, I'm sure we both had wide eyes. But like the Phillies are batting in the middle of the seventh inning or whatever it is. It was Mets and Phillies in Philadelphia. So I go on talkback, which you know what that is, so I can talk to the truck without it going out over the air. And I said, "Hey guys, anybody got anything on the bin Laden story I just saw?" And I got an answer back, "Yes, don't say anything, we're corroborating." Meanwhile, another pitch is thrown or a ball's put in play. Like, the game is still going on. And it's, this is not in the play-by-play handbook. So we sat on it for a while. And then I gave what I knew. And I had help from the truck. Again, they were through their sources. I'm trying to balance this and calling the game at the same time. So I just said, hey, ABC News is reporting because ABC and ESPN are all in the Disney family. So ABC News is reporting, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what we know, and on we go. And then we get back to the baseball game. And then within minutes, maybe not even minutes, everybody's got a phone, right? Everybody knows. And now the ballpark is going, the buzz in the ballpark is unbelievable. People are telling each other, and a USA chant breaks out. And now everybody but the players know, because the players are on the field or in the dugout, and they don't know what's going on. And that became a story. And eventually, of course, they found out from camera people or security guards or ushers or whatever the case may be. And then, of course, because it's baseball, that game, I think, went 13 innings or something like that. So we were on the air for a couple of hours. But it was, to be in all honesty, Braden, I think I could have done better than I did, but I played it incredibly safe. Just wanted to give the information. And, how you juggle that in a baseball game, I still don't know, but we did the best we could.
Yeah, truly remarkable, and what an interesting experience that was. Dan Shulman, Blue Jays broadcaster, joining us on the Braden Surprenant show. Thanks again for enlightening us on a little bit of the broadcasting side. Let's talk about the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have won 6 of the last 10 games. What has been the biggest factor for them in their recent upswing?
Well, for the first 6 of those 10, I think they won 5 of them. They started hitting. Like overall, this team's been a little disappointing this year. They've been right in games. Like they just played the Tigers 3 one-run games, but they lost 2 of them. It's one of those. I think their record's 22-24, if I'm not mistaken. And it's one of those. Like every team, you remember the ones that got away more than the ones that you stole. But it feels like they should be a little bit better than they are. Not a ton better. This is not the same team from 21 and 22 that hit like crazy and had so much young talent. They're not as talented now. Some guys are older in key spots, like their starting rotation. Guerrero and Bichette are still Guerrero and Bichette. But this is a team, I think, that if they play well, can be a playoff team, but I don't think this is the same level of talent they had a few years ago. So what's going better lately is for several games, they finally started hitting. I mean, they had like 18 games in a row where they didn't score more than 4 runs, something like that. Bichette has gotten hot. Dalton Varsho's come off the IL. He had shoulder surgery in September, so he missed the first month this year. And he's hit 6 home runs in 12 games, which they have desperately needed. And then some of their Alejandro Kirk is swinging the bat very well. And even like a complimentary guy like Ernie Clement is swinging the bat very well. Some guys have started swinging it better. But in some of these games, the hitting was great, and they didn't get a good start from their pitcher. Or the hitting was great, and the starting pitcher was good, and then the bullpen blew up. They've had trouble getting everything on the same page at the same time. It's all there, but they've got to kind of get it all going at once if they're going to win more than they lose this year.
Dan Shulman, Toronto Blue Jays play-by-play broadcaster, joining us on the Braden Surprenant show. Not too long ago, they were able to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to sign an extension. The Blue Jays have kind of been the runner-up for a lot of different signings in free agency. How important is it for the Blue Jays, or how important was it for the Blue Jays to make sure Vlad Guerrero Jr. stays with the organization for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I think they kind of had to do it. And as you know, they paid a lot to get it done. 14 years and $500 million. And, that's been compared in some circles to the Tatis contract, right? Which I think was 14 and $340, if I'm not mistaken. Now there's a little inflation there because things always go up. And is this year, what year is this for Tatis? Of the 14-3, maybe
like
4
3 or 4.
Like but yeah, so, a little inflation, but listen, Tatis is a right fielder. Vladdy's a first baseman. So, in that sense, you got to give Tatis a little bit of an edge. So, but they kind of had to get it done. As you said, they went after a number of high profile guys who they didn't get. The only thing I will say to that is, like, just about every team didn't get those guys, right? It's just that the Blue Jays seemed to finish second or third a lot. But, they were in on Ohtani. They were definitely in on Roki Sasaki without question. And they have signed some guys. I mean, George Springer and Kevin Gausman and Anthony Santander, they've got a big payroll. They spent $260 million this year, which is by far the most they've ever spent. But I think they needed to get Guerrero done because they didn't have anybody remotely close in the system who could provide that kind of thump going forward. Like the question was, okay, if you don't sign him, then what? Who's hitting, whether it's second, third, whatever, who's hitting in the middle of the order next year? And the fan base, I think, has been pretty grumpy the last couple of years. A bad year last year, and then a couple of years before that, they make the playoffs, but they go out in 2 games both times. And I mean, in painful fashion, like stuff you couldn't dream up if you were trying to. So I think ownership made a decision that they probably went well beyond their comfort zone and said, we got to sign him. And they did. So, whether Bichette gets signed is another story. He's up at the end of the year as well. I've always kind of put the two of them in a slightly different category. It's always felt like Guerrero, truly would be happy to spend his entire career in Toronto, if the contract was right and if the team looked like a winner. And Bichette may be the same, but Bo's always felt a little bit more like a bet on yourself kind of guy. And let's see. So right now, relative, I think, to their ceilings, Bichette's actually having the better year. He's swinging it really well right now. Vladdy has taken a lot of walks and hitting for a decent average, but they need the pop. They need more than 5 home runs in 46 games. Like, if this team, another one of the ifs, there's a few ifs. If this team's going to be a playoff team, he's got to drive in 100 plus. He's got to be a thumper like he was last year.
Dan, you kind of answered. My next question was going to be about the fan base. I mean, you mentioned in 2021, very young team, high ceiling. It looked like the future was really bright for the Toronto Blue Jays, and then it kind of flipped the last couple of years. I mean, you mentioned them being a little disgruntled. I mean, how's the support been in terms of what they've done, move wise during the off seasons and how they've been able to construct this team? Again, you mentioned a little disgruntled, but what's the patience level at right now with this fan base?
So the off season after 22, before 23, it feels like the front office decided they were too imbalanced, too right-hand hitting, too focused on the offense, not enough on the defense and the base running and the fundamentals. So Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., both of whom you're very familiar with, were both traded away that offseason. So, and they changed the look of the team. Kevin Kiermaier came in and had a very good year. Brandon Belt came in, but the team just felt all of a sudden they struggled to score runs. The defense was really good, but they struggled to score runs. And now, after a couple of years of that, I think they're trying to swing back the pendulum into the middle a little bit more. They're still a very good defensive team, but they went out looking for more offense. Anthony Santander was almost a guy they had to have. Like, there wasn't that much on the free agent market this year. They got him. Unfortunately, he's hitting 187. Like, he's really struggling. The one move that surprised me in the offseason was they picked up Andres Jimenez from Cleveland, a great defensive second baseman, but not a good hitter. And he's on the IL right now. He'll be back soon. He's been great defensively, but hasn't hit well. So that to me is a bit of an issue that they went in that direction. And hopefully he can turn it around and swing the bats better. But the fans, they really got angry after the 22 season into 23 when the team just didn't hit as much. And then last year it went down again and they hit even less. So this offseason, I think, was good. Getting Santander. I mean, Jimenez will help. I'm just not sure if he's going to help offensively. Jeff Hoffman at the back of the bullpen. They bring back Jimmy Garcia. And the Max Scherzer one hasn't worked out yet because he's been hurt. But like they had a good offseason. They didn't get Soto, but they brought in some guys who will help. But I think the fans are still kind of grumpy with the front office. A bad crowd for the Jays is kind of 22 to 24,000. A good crowd, they get 40. They fill it up. The capacity is just over 40. We're lucky. It's a big city and it's a big country, and a lot of people come to Toronto from all over Canada to watch the Blue Jays play, and we see a ton of them in Seattle and Minnesota and Cleveland as well. And I just want for the fans that they can turn this into a winner. You go back to 2021, as you talked about. They were a team that almost everybody was betting on to win a World Series in the next few years. And obviously it hasn't happened. They haven't even won a playoff game. They've been in, but they haven't won a game.
Dan, last thing I got for you, starting pitcher tonight, Chris Bassett. What should Padres fans expect to see out of Bassett as he twirls it against our starting 9?
Kitchen sink, sinker, cutter, splitter, and then a little bit of everything else. 6 or 7 pitch guy. Some people say 8, but he's kind of ditched a couple. He does not throw hard. He'll top out at 92, but he is very smart, very crafty. If he is on the edges, up, down, left, right, in, out, changing speeds, keeping them off balance, he can be great. I think he brings like a 3.16 ERA into his start here tonight. If he makes mistakes, he'll get hit more than most because he doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the velocity. Very slow curveball, like 70 miles an hour. It might be the slowest curveball in baseball, and he'll get some really funny swings on it. But a guy who knows what he's doing out there, and if he is on, all of a sudden, it's through 6 innings, and everybody's like, man, I really should have got that guy. I felt pretty good at the plate, and everybody's 0 for 3. He can do that when he's hitting the corners.
Dan, I really appreciate your time. I know you got get prepared for this big series. I know you've probably already done a lot of that preparation. Thanks again for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
You got it, Braden. All the best.
Thanks to Dan Shulman joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Real treat to be able to talk to him. Growing up and watching Sunday Night Baseball and hearing his calls, I think he does such a great job as a play-by-play man. I'm still a aspiring play-by-play person, even though I'm doing talk radio stuff, and I love picking the brains of some of the best, and I think he is one of the best, if especially for baseball. And it's I think he did such a great job. I know why he didn't want to do Sunday Night Baseball anymore. He wanted to spend more time with his family and be in Toronto. He's from Canada. He gets to call games for the Blue Jays. He does a lot of different stuff for Canada's Olympic teams as well. But just a fascinating career that he had. And I mean, Frank, what an interesting story on the Osama bin Laden news break for a guy that's used to doing sports. I mean, he said it right. I mean, you're calling a game and you're trying to get information and trying to spread it, and he's doing it where it matters a lot for the people in the country that he's doing the game that he's not even from.
No, absolutely. And I've done some commentary stuff as well, and that is one of the harder things to do. And I kind of take his side in that, is when you're doing something that's outside of the norm of what you do, you just play it as safe and as deadpan as you possibly can. So he did everything right when it came to that, and just an interesting story to be put in a situation like that and try to work through it live and as it's happening. Just, I could listen to stories like that all day.
And the thing is, it's not like, it's something that you would be expecting going into the broadcast, right? It's not like, all right, well, the conclave is converging and we should have a pope soon. Like, what are we going to say if they elect one during the bride? Like certain news items that you might be thinking could be happening around you. I mean, you got to be able to adapt and go quickly. I've never had anything that extreme, but I think back to doing a live remote in Valley Center. We were doing a live remote at some hardware store, and we were going to call the Valley Center football game that night, all for 97 through the fan. And we start seeing black smoke coming from the vicinity, and it ends up a fire had broken out. And so we were there, like within almost evacuation distance. We're doing our show. I remember being on the phone with Adam, being like, hey, like, we're good. Like, it's going in the opposite direction. But all of a sudden we started giving updates on the fire, and then what's going on with the game. They ended up canceling the game and putting it to the next day. We ended up doing the game the next day. We ended up doing it on Saturday. Adam's like, do you still want to do the game? I'm like, yeah, I want to do the game. I was prepped for it.
Come on.
So that night I ended up going to, because I was still coaching at Cathedral. So as I do now, I went and we had a bye, and we went and scouted LCC Torrey, I think. That night I met up with them and went to that game, and then ended up calling the Valley. I don't even remember who Valley Center played that day, but I remember going to some barbecue place up there that they told me I had to go to on the way back. But yeah, all of a sudden you're doing something that you didn't think you would be doing. And during a live remote radio broadcast, it's a little bit different. I mean, baseball is like pitch, 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 and he's trying to talk via the talk back and everything like that. Crazy. I mean, this is a pretty interesting story.
And like PMCK in the chat just said, Howard Cosell with John Lennon announcement on Monday Night Football. That's something you're never taught, you're never prepared for.
That was a great get, Frank. Good job. Dan Shulman was awesome. If you missed that interview, maybe we'll replay it later. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973 if you want to join the show. Could left field be on the roster? Because the Padres have it in a different position. We'll talk about it when we come back. 11 o'clock hour on 97.3 The Fan. Braden Surprenant show continues. If you missed our last interview, we are posting it right now on YouTube. We're going to get the page up on our website. If you haven't checked it out already, 97threethefansd.com. Our full interview with Dan Shulman. Great conversation with him, talking about a little bit of his play-by-play, the breaking of the news that he had, big moment in his career, but also a full preview of the Toronto Blue Jays. So if you want to check that out, if you missed it, go back. You can use the rewind function. You could go back and make sure that you subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts at. Again, it's free to do. It will be dropped right on your phone. You get a notification from us when everything's posted. Again, we're going to have that up on that as well. And check out our YouTube page at 97 through the Fan SD. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Frank Marchese joining me as well. Got a lot more Padres talk to get to. If you haven't done so already, follow us on social media at @B_SURP to follow my personal accounts on social media at FMarks324, MARKZ324 for Frank Marchese. And then you can follow our show at B_SERP Show, the B SERP Show. The BS Show, the B SERP Show. You could pick either. I said the BS Show the other day, and somebody DM'd me on Instagram laughing, giggling. The BS Show. It's just all this BS on the show. Elo loves calling me BS. He thinks it's the funniest thing. I don't mind it. But every time he brings it up, he's like, do people realize that Braden's initials are BS? That's right, Chris. Yes,
Never once thought of that.
Didn't. Anyway, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you want to join the show today, we're going to dive into a potential fit in the outfield that might be an infielder for the San Diego Padres. And what's the track record? There's a lot of players in Major League Baseball have done a good job in transitioning to the outfield. We'll talk about that after we talk with Jason Encinitas. Jason, what's going on, man? How's your Tuesday?
Going well, Braden, in the car, so apologize if there's any background noise. But I wanted to talk about switching up his lineup a little bit. You know, I know your position is you like Fernando in the number one hole, and I'm going to argue and see if I can convince you otherwise. You know, and I understand the cybermetrics of wanting, you know, your big bats to be at the top and not go to the ninth inning and, the game end with one of your big bats, on deck or whatever. Totally get that. But you know, if you put Luis Ariz in the number one hole and he's batting 300 and on, batting ninth, you have Diaz, for example, batting roughly 200. You have a 100-point gap there. And if you say, roughly 4 at-bats plus minus times in a week, 7 games, 28 at-bats roughly, and you take times a 100-point differential, you're talking about Fernando coming to the plate with over, 3 and some change. I want to say it's almost 4 additional times he comes to the plate with, say, Ariz on first base as opposed to Diaz. And I don't understand with Fernando having hit so many solo home runs, why you wouldn't want to do that. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, what makes sense to me, and Jason, I appreciate the phone call. There's a couple of things. I mean, you're getting runs out of it every time. Here's the deal. You cannot just assume that these guys are going to get on base in front of Fernando. Just like you can't assume that with anybody else in the order. Like, the players in front of Fernando getting on base Fernando has no impact on that whatsoever. Now, in terms of, Ariz batting leadoff, he does an okay job, but, the thing is with Ariz batting, Ariz is scarier as a base hit guy with runners on base than he is with the bases empty. In his career, he doesn't have a lot of numbers in which he is not good at swinging the stick in his career. But as a leadoff hitter for the Padres, he hadn't been very good. Overall in his career, he's hitting .322 in the leadoff spot. His best spot's really batting third, which I wouldn't be opposed to, where he's hit .356. He has had the most plate appearances at a leadoff guy. But the problem I have with Ariz batting leadoff, he is so slow. He's just going to clog. He clogs a lot of the bases. Fernando is a dynamic player. He is a phenom athlete. He's your most athletic player on the team. I don't think anybody can really argue with that. I think sure, Jackson Merrill, pretty athletic, pretty close. I think what Fernando brings in all the intangibles is better as a leadoff man than it is as a 3 or 4 hitter, because the perception of if he's batting in a different spot in the order, he'd be hitting 3-run homers instead of solo shots. I get where you're coming from on that. I personally don't. I don't think you eliminate him from being the start of the game, because you're already pitching with stress when you got to face Fernando to start the game. Like when you're starting the game against the Dodgers, you got to start with Shohei Ohtani. If I start the game with Luis Arraez, I'm not afraid. Because in reality, the best that Arraez is going to do is a single, which is the same as a walk. With nobody on base, it's not that bad. When you have Fernando up to lead off a game and to start a ball game, he could lose one. He could be down 1-0 on one pitch. I think that's more valuable than the potential, like trying to finagle everything into a sense of he might hit more. We got to get guys on base for him. They got to get on base on their own. And it doesn't really matter where Fernando hits. I think from an average standpoint, I agree with you. Luis Arraez has a higher likelihood of getting on base, aka getting a hit, than Elias Diaz. I'm not going to argue with that. It's 100% correct. And so logically, I do follow your logic in the sense of Arraez more likely going to get on base or get a hit than Diaz would theoretically give Fernando more opportunities to drive in more runs than Luis Arraez. I get that. But I like having the pressure to start the game. Look, we talk about it all the time. Fans love it. Fans love all the comments that Jackson Merrill made about we apply pressure. That's applying pressure. That's applying pressure. Putting him in the leadoff spot. I don't like Luis Arraez as a leadoff guy. I don't think he's not a leadoff hitter just because he's a high contact guy. He doesn't walk a lot, which Fernando doesn't either, but he has been doing a lot more. I think in this day and age of baseball, you want your best guy at top. I've said it for the last 3 months. I would go Fernando 1, I'd go Jackson 2, and I'm not opposed to either Manny or Arraez 3-4. I think you could go either way on that. If you go Arraez 3rd, I think that's fine. The problem is now you got Manny, leading off an inning in the second if you go down 1-2-3. I disagree with Tatis being wasted at 1. You got to stop assuming that if he moves lower in the order, he's going to be driving all these runs. He sets the table, sets the tone. This is you got to flush out all of the traditional stereotypes of a leadoff guy. That's not how baseball evaluates that spot anymore. Fernando gets it. First of all, like I said, it's the fear of God in a pitcher when he has to start the game. If he gets on base, now you're worried about him on the base pass. Is anybody worried about Arraez at first base? Is there a pitcher going like, man, I got to be worried about this. I got to hold this guy on and be worried about this guy swiping second on me? No, nobody's afraid of Arraez on the base paths. Fernando's on first. Not only do you have to worry about the guy at the plate, which could be Jackson Merrill, by the way, you got to worry about him at first or maybe him at second. It brings a lot more intangibles than just a home run. You got to stop thinking about it just on home runs. These guys are going to hit home runs. They are successful without being the number one home run hitting team. And as talked about a week ago, this team could not hit a home run to save their life in the first couple months of the season. Where did they finish last year? They finished 10th in home runs. They are a line drive hitting team. When you're a line drive hitting team and your offensive philosophy is hitting line drives, the home runs will come, especially in the warmer months, sticking to your approach. When you're a line drive hitting team and you're not hitting, you're still putting the ball in play and making things happen when you miss. When you're a home run hitting team, like the Seattle Mariners, sure, you get those big blasts, you get those big 3-run bombs, you get those crooked innings that Chris Ello was talking about yesterday. But when you don't hit well and you go through your slump, it is painful to watch because it's pop-ups all day. That is not putting pressure on. That is not applying pressure. That is making the job easy for a defense. It's the difference between the 2024 Padres and the 2023 Padres. That's the difference. 2023 Padres waiting for that big hit, and sometimes you don't get the big hit. What travels and what plays all year long is that grind out at bats, putting the ball in play, moving runners, being aggressive, applying pressure. They are not going to be able to do that all year long. It's impossible. The teams that have been able to do that, the Los Angeles Dodgers, I know everybody hates the comparisons. Oh, we can't say Dodgers on the station. They've done a great job of doing that for years. They go through slumps. Everybody's going to do it. It's a game built on failure. So, just because you got swept over the weekend by the Mariners and they didn't hit very well, doesn't mean that's going to continue for the rest of eternity. It's not going to happen like that. We have already seen this team hit very well with their philosophy. Everybody loved it. Oh, we love the aggressiveness. You can't say you love it when it works and then hate it when it doesn't work. You either like it or you don't. Don't be a windsock. But again, and here's my thing on RBIs, dude. I'm not a huge RBI guy because RBIs you have no control over. You have zero control over RBIs. If you're batting, like if you look at the general whatever lineup for the Padres, if you got Fernando hitting leadoff home runs and Luis is batting second, he's not going to drive in a lot of runs if he's doing it in front of him. That was the same thing. Like I remember hearing that argument last year. The argument last year, right, was Xander Bogaerts needs more RBIs. The guy was batting behind Manny like the entire time. And Manny was like leading the team in RBIs. I got to like look at the official numbers. But if the guy in front of you is driving in all the runs and then you got nobody to drive in, is that your fault for not driving in runs? Not really. You got to think about like averages with runners in scoring position. You got to think about high leverage opportunities. I mean, those are some of the more like advanced stats. They're not analytics, just more advanced stats that I think are more important than just RBIs. We talk about all the time like batting. Oh, batting average is an archaic stat. Wins for a pitcher, archaic stat. I think RBIs are starting to be an archaic stat because you have no control over it as a hitter. The way this team scores runs is a team effort on getting guys on, getting them over, getting them in. And I'm telling you, the home runs are going to come. The home runs are going to come. You know, Ello mentioned the whole runners in scoring position. They're 0 for 21. He was like, well, if they hit a 3-run homer, that's like a different way to... Yeah, well, if you hit a 3-run homer, somebody's going to be in scoring position. You'd still be getting a hit with runners in scoring position. Teams go through cycles of getting hits and runners in scoring position and teams that and times where they don't. And when they don't hit the ball with runners in scoring position, they don't win. They don't win unless the other team's pitcher is a circus and walks in runs. It's the ebbs and flows of the season. Remember that. Is there a solution in left field for the Padres that is an infielder? We might have an answer for you. The chat was on it yesterday. We're starting to think about it more. We'll talk about it when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, Sagan's #1 Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. 11:20 on the Braden Surprenant show. Everybody wants to move the lineup over, move it around. We got to keep moving Fernando into spots where he can come up every single time with guys on base. It's not possible. I like where he's at. If you want to mix up everything behind him, sure. Go for it. I'd like to see Merrill bat second, to be perfectly honest. Wouldn't mind seeing a Rise batting third or fourth. I mean, to me, there's different, opinions on like what they want to see out of different things. But that being said, I mean, you could look at a lot of Fernando's stats and everything like that with people on base. I mean, they're relatively the same as when they're not. But he's been up with runners and he's been up with men on base. 59. He's had 66 plate appearances with men on base. He's hit 3 home runs. It's not a guarantee that all these home. I just the thing that drives me nuts about the argument about Fernando needs to come up with he needs to be able to drive in more runs and we need multi-homer at bats out of him is to think that every time that he comes up with guys on base they're going to hit it's asking for like a perfect situation. It's baseball. He's not always going to hit a home run with guys on base. And he's not always going to come up with guys on base either. I mean, it's going to balance itself out. Aside from the first at bat, there's no guarantee. And I know Elias Diaz is batting in front of him. I would even mind seeing like whoever starts in left field batting 9. There's a handful of times that Fernando comes up with guys on base. It's not like he's never coming up with guys on base. He does it a lot. He's done it 66 times out of all his plate appearances that he has. Out of all the how many plate appearances does he have this year? Let's take a look. Quarter baseball reference, yada, yada. 192 plate appearances. He's had 66 with guys on base. That is I said never do math on the air, but 35%. That's not very high, obviously. But I like him batting leadoff. I had some people tweeting at me, too, about their opinion on this. I said put a Rise 3-4 too. Woods has been saying it. I like a Rise batting third or fourth. But here's a tweet. It's not like Tatis is stealing bags when he's on first to begin with. He just stands at first, keeps the hole there open with first base at the bag. That's what it seems like now. So what pressure is Tatis applying? I'm telling you right now, they're worried about him. I'm not worried about a lot of players on the Padres on the base paths. I am worried about Fernando if I'm a opposing team. A 2-run home run is better than a solo, but Tatis does come up with runners on often enough and doesn't hit them when on base. So there's always that. Yeah, it's not, I mean, you're asking for like a perfect world every time. Wouldn't it be sick, Frank, if Fernando came up with the bases loaded every time he came up and hit a home run every single time?
That would be amazing.
It'd be sick. It's never going to happen. It doesn't happen, though. I'd rather have him up more times. The more times I get him up, the more chances I have to have Fernando up with guys on base. The bottom of the order's done okay. They've done okay. There's been a lot of times they've gotten on for Fernando and he hasn't done anything. But I like him batting leadoff. I think it's a good tone setter. I'd rather have Merrill bat second. I'd have Machado / Arise bat 3-4. I think he could go either way. I'd almost rather have Arise bat fourth, even though statistically that's the worst spot in a batting order that he has numbers-wise. Not a big sample size. But he hits the worst as the 4-hitter. Stats that don't matter. But, interesting enough. But if you have Fernando, Merrill, Manny, those are 3 of your arguably best hitters on the team in terms of all-around hitters. And even if all 3 of them get out, Arise is either coming up with guys on base, which is scarier than Arise with nobody on base, because more times than not, he's going to get a hit. He's definitely going to put the ball in play. I'd rather have Arise put the ball in play with guys on base because a couple of things. If there's one out, he's probably going to hit a sac fly. The only thing that kills you is the double play, but the Padres got a lot of players that are double play candidates. But if you have Arise bat fourth and 1, 2, 3 in the order end up going down, then Arise bats leadoff to start the second inning. Then he's back being the leadoff guy again. And then you go 5, 6 with Cronenworth and maybe Bogarts. I'd probably go Bogarts 5 in that particular situation. It's more of like a 2-level hitter. And then Jake Cronenworth to drive in runs. Like, that's better. But I don't really have a problem with the way that they set their lineup. I don't really... they're scoring runs. They hit for a high average. You look at all the averages on the team. They're all relatively high. I'm not worried about it after one weekend. Can't just scrap everything, throw it away. Yeah, Rod, extend a rise. See how that works out. I think I don't think there's a big market for a rise, but they might be able to bring him back. You're looking at WAR for the players. A little WAR update for you. Highest WAR on the team, Fernando. Second highest, Manny. Third highest, Jackson. Fourth highest, Xander. Wow. Shocking. We've put this off long enough, I think. Frank had this in the rundown. It's interesting. Could the left field patch be on the roster? Javi Baez has had a career renaissance in the outfield as a former shortstop. Former second baseman, former infield. He kind of taken the approach that Fernando had, moving from the infield to the outfield, both shortstops having success. A lot of teams in college baseball recruit just shortstops because they know they're going to get an athlete, and then they move them around. Then you have an athlete in every position. You're starting to see that a lot with Major League Baseball teams, Padres being one of them. But you could go through the list of a lot of infielders that have gone on to be great outfielders. MLB.com had a whole article on this. MLB players who moved from infield to outfield that have had success. Javi Baez is the main one this year that they are talking about. It goes on to talk about Fernando Tatis. Obviously, he's done a great job winning a platinum glove in the outfield. Pete Rose started as a second baseman, ended up having a great career in the outfield. Robin Yount, Dale Murphy, Craig Biggio. All players moving to the outfield. Jose Altuve has moved to the outfield. So maybe the solution for the Padres in left field is not Jason Hayward, and it's not Gavin Sheets, and it's not Brandon Lockridge, but maybe it's one of the infielders. Now, I'm not going to take any credit for this because some people in the chat were talking about it yesterday. It's not a bad idea. You've moved him around a lot. He is a shortstop by trade. Now, he's never played in the outfield. He's not necessarily your best defensive second baseman. Is it crazy to think that the Padres should move Jake Cronenworth to left field? I think he could do it. That's why I was not opposed to this yesterday when it was brought up in the chat. You know, some people said Tyler Wade, Jose Iglesias. I wouldn't mind a situation in which you have Cronenworth in left, Merrill in center, Tatis in right. I think the speed of Merrill and Tatis kind of will help out a little bit with Cronenworth. I think Cronenworth could be a solid left fielder. Third base, Machado. Shortstop, Bogarts. Second base, Iglesias. First base, Arise. Gavin Sheets is your DH. And depending on the pitcher, Martin Maldonado or Elias Diaz. Until the trade deadline, I don't really mind it. I don't really mind it at all. I think if you gave Jose Iglesias more consistent at-bats, he'd be able to do very well. Did it last year with New York. Did it for the Padres organization in 2023 before he never got pulled up. You're not going to be able to get an actual left fielder, as Custom Gear in the chat said. No, get an actual left fielder until around the trade deadline. But until then, why not see if Jake Cronenworth can play left field? Some of the YouTube chats, I mentioned, they like hilarious. I don't really want to see Luis Ariz out there, even though he has played left field. I especially do not, I can't believe this was even uttered. I especially do not want to see Xander Bogaerts in left field. Are we out of our minds? Come on. Really? I know he doesn't have a lot of range at shortstop. He's got one of the lesser arms at shortstop currently in Major League Baseball. He makes the routine play at short. It's all I really care about. But we're going to put a guy that doesn't have a lot of range and who doesn't throw very well anymore in left field? Come on. What are we doing? Cronenworth to the outfield. Cronenworth, statistically, from a defensive standpoint, is one of the worst defensive second basemen in the game. Him and Ariz last year were the two worst defensive second basemen in the game. So you don't really need his defense at second base. Iglesias is probably the best defender on the team. Which is funny that somebody in the chat goes, do you even watch the games? Iglesias is horrible defense. He's one of the best defensive players on the team. Put him at second. Put him at second. Put Cronenworth in left and see what you got before the trade deadline. You're not going to make a trade until the trade deadline because the players that you would have to go after right now are potentially on teams that still think that they're competing. And here's the thing. We talked about it with J.J. Cooper yesterday. Left field is an easier position to acquire at the deadline because it does not cost a lot. You're not going to have to give up a Salas or a DeVries or any of your top prospects to get a left fielder. This is just a stopgap. This is just how do we get a situation where we can have Iglesias in the lineup, probably a little bit more than a Hayward or maybe a Brandon Lockridge, where we can spot start. You currently do not have an everyday left fielder on this team. It could be Cronenworth. Potentially. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing what it looks like. What do you think? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we come back, speaking of outfielders, the Mets regretting signing Juan Soto? Is Juan Soto regretting signing with the Mets? An emotional weekend in the Bronx. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. Almost in the lunchtime hour, which we might have a special lunchtime hour lunch for us here today. We'll talk about that in the lunchtime hour. Again, really appreciate. Oh, got to move the camera things around.
Yeah, that's not going to work right now.
I know how to fix that. I got to do like a camera layout
No, there was writing over it.
on the top.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nick Allen.
I am most decidedly not Nick Allen.
No, but we might have Nick Allen on the show on Friday. I want to point out, I was correct. Was I not? I was correct. Not
Twice.
only, and you know what? Go Aztecs on Twitch. Listen to me. I will stir the audience. No wrong. Ever when it comes to food. Ever. I have the best food takes at the station. I'm going to crown myself that. If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. That's what I'm doing. I will lead you nowhere poorly when it comes to food. And the fact that I had said the Taco Bell nuggets are the best out of any fast food chicken nuggets. Go Aztecs had it on Twitch, said they were great. Our guy Travis in the chat had it yesterday, gave it an 8.7. And look who joined the band. Look who hopped on the bandwagon. Frank Marchese. Enlighten us on the Taco Bell nuggets.
I had them on a whim yesterday because you guys were talking about it. I was hungry. I hadn't eaten all day. So I'm like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's see.
What was your experience like there, Frank?
They pass.
They pass.
They definitely pass.
What's your rating on it?
Say about an 8. It's the best of any fast food chicken
I'm
nugget
talking
I've
about
ever had.
fast food nuggets. We're not talking
that's
about
the best of any fast food chicken nuggets I've had. And I
That's
think
a
it's
rookie.
because,
That's a rookie score, by the way. 8 what?
and
Come on, man.
8.5.
There we go. All right. Still kind of rookie, but not that bad.
There it is. Okay. 8.6842. How about that one?
Okay. Even better.
There you go.
Advanced.
So, I mean, they were not bad, and I think it's because they actually cut up chicken. It wasn't like
Yeah, it's chicken breast. It's not like
it's actually
not like pink slime or whatever that McDonald's has.
exactly. But it was good. I think that breading was interesting because I knew
It's like
it was
tortillas.
no, I knew it was that, but I think they mix it in their sauce, the Taco Bell sauce.
No, it tastes like
That has to be what the, I guess, quote unquote binder for it is.
That's right. People don't get it though. You know,
But
we got some haters in the chat. You know, Taco Bell's not Mexican food.
No,
It's fast food, guys. It's not Mexican food. You can have it in San Diego. You can eat it. I don't have to have a taco shop every single time. I can mix in other things. You know what? Sometimes, for convenience, I got to have a chain pizza place. For convenience. That doesn't mean it's better than Bronx Pizza or any of the local pizza places. Same thing with like anything else. There are way better burger places in town than the fast food burger places. They're not the same. It's different. Stop. This is what I hate. As a local, I hate this. The gatekeeping on Mexican food from locals. I hate it. We're in San Diego. Why would you have Chipotle? It's different, dude. It's
Because
not the same.
Because sometimes it hits. Like
It's
it hits
not
the right spot.
The same. Sometimes I want a California burrito. Sometimes Taco Bell sounds good. It's not the same. It's not the same. Relax. Somebody goes on. Sounds like he's tasted all the chicken nugget places in town. Find me a better one. Go ahead. Find me a better one.
I mean, and seriously.
Who eats nuggets? Are you 9 years old? You know what? Sometimes it's good to be a kid. Feel youthful.
Exactly.
What's wrong with feeling like a kid? Kids are happy all the time.
And as far as he sounds like he's eaten at all the nugget places. I had a fat surgery. Yeah, I have eaten at all the chicken nugget places here, except for Chick-fil-A, because I'm allergic to peanuts.
Right. We talked about that. Sometimes I want a Chipotle burrito. Sometimes I want to rip Juan Soto. Here we go.
Sometimes I want to go to Taco Bell and hate myself.
Yeah, I mean, after eating all of these things, I do not like myself. But in the moment, I do feel kind and generous. Anyway, what's up with your boy Juan, Frank? What's going on with Juan?
Nothing's good. It's all good.
Rough and emotionally draining weekend as the Mets face the Yankees in the Subway Series. Booed relentlessly.
She knew was coming.
By sellout Yankee Stadium crowds. He recorded just one hit.
Which, by the way, how childish.
Stop it.
And how minor league from Yankee fans.
Stop it.
Met fans did not care about this series. It was another series in May. And I said that. It's another series in May. Yankee fans booing at Juan Soto every chance they got. The stupid bleacher creatures turned their back to him in the first game. Like, are you stupid? Are you a child?
If you reverse this, Frank, if you reverse the teams, Frank is doing everything the Yankees fans did.
No.
Yes,
no,
absolutely.
I'm not.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I said it in the times I was on here last year.
If the guy was
Juan
a Philly,
Juan Soto made it clear that it was a 1-year rental. He was not going to be a Yankee for the rest of his career. He made that clear in every interview he made.
To turn down an offer by the Yankees to play for the Mets, I can see why Yankees fans are upset. That's not what this conversation is about. Neither is it the fact that he only got one hit. I don't think Yankees
He's been doing
fans
that all year.
I don't think Yankees fans intimidated Juan Soto into only getting one hit. Here's my thing on Juan Soto, though. Juan Soto being naive enough to think that only one day of getting booed and then thinking he was going to be boys with everybody in the Yankees organization not the organization, but the fans.
He never thought that.
You could tell by the way he acted.
He never thought that.
Look at the way he acted after the game.
He said it before the game started. It was going to be 50,000 versus 1 all weekend.
And then he knew it was coming. Look at his actions. Juan Soto never blows off the media. He blew off the media. Juan Soto agreed to do an interview with ESPN on Sunday Night Baseball. It was the most softball interview ever.
And why did he? And why did he
turned
decline?
it down
why?
right before because I don't want to talk about Aaron Judge and why I left the Yankees.
Okay,
you know what, dude?
That's fair.
Tough S. When you sign a $750 million contract with a rival team, the other team and their fans aren't going to worship you anymore.
He's been asked those questions
He's
all
going
off
to
season and all winter and all
be
spring.
Asked those questions. He's going to be continue to ask those. It's New York. They're going to continue to do that. This is what you signed up for when you wanted to sign a gigantic contract and go where the money is. Now, I'm not saying he made a wrong decision. I'm not saying he should have stayed with the Yankees. I'm not saying he should have taken a discount. All I'm saying is there are consequences to actions. One of those being, buddy, you're going to be hated in the Bronx for the rest of eternity.
Yes.
And you can't avoid the media about it. You can't get disgruntled about it. I understand why you would as a human. But to me, he acted like he was shocked that they were doing this the entire weekend. He blew off the media afterwards. He didn't do the interview with ESPN. He wasn't acting like he usually acts. It was a shocking experience for him. And this is what I have to say about some of these athletes that get these big contracts. It comes with the territory. It comes with the territory. Could you imagine if, and it's a little bit different because, again, you're right. It's a 1-year deal with the Yankees. Like, Yankees fans are kind of being overly ridiculous about it.
Because they are overly ridiculous.
This was a Padre that went to the Dodgers for more money. Our chat would just be executing this dude every single time he showed up.
Right, and it'd be fair to do so.
With the territory. It comes with the territory. You got to deal with it. You got to suck it up, and you got to go play baseball.
I'm not saying that Juan Soto didn't deserve to be booed. Fans are going to do what fans are going to do. I'm not going to. You can't stop that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have done what they did. You have to. If you're Juan Soto, you have to understand that's going to happen, and he did. He said it. It's going to be 50,000 versus 1 all weekend. I don't feel bad for him for that. I'm just saying, how many more times are you going to answer the same question over and over and over and over again and give the same answer? That would drive me nuts.
It would, but guess what wouldn't drive you nuts? Driving home and living off it comes to the territory. It's the same thing with like people. And here's the deal. I don't like bothering famous people. Like if you see a famous person, right? You're like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. And they hate the fact that they're always recognized in public, and they hate the fact that they got to sign autographs and take pictures. I get that. That's annoying. It comes with the territory. That's part of your job.
No, I see what you're saying.
I know it's annoying, but it comes with the job. You can't just run away from it because you've done that your entire life, because you've never had to do these things. He has to do it now. This comes with the territory of signing the contract,
he always has.
Being the big face in New York. Yeah, but then all of a sudden, not everybody loves me anymore.
Oh,
and now
stop.
It's like, I'm going to go pout and then use my family as an excuse to get out of interviews. And it's your actions. Actions are speaking louder than, I don't even care about the on-field thing.
One bad weekend with the media. One. That's it. One.
It might start to be a trend. He might not be cut out to be a New York Met.
He was in New York all last year. And he knows what this media is.
Worshipped him. And now all of a sudden they don't on one side. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. I just think he's acting a little childish and needs to grow up a little bit. You are getting overly defensive about somebody on your favorite team.
He hasn't been good this year.
If this is anybody else,
Frank hasn't been good this year.
This is the most emotion I've seen out of Frank. I love this.
Because again, the show's not about me; it's about you. But anyway,
but as Go Aztecs said, love fired up Frank. We love fired up Frank,
and this is what I do. But for Soto, he has not been good this year. He hasn't. He has not been the Juan Soto that we paid $750 million for. And I've not had a problem saying that. He's been hard to watch. Some people complaining about his defense. He has always been a defensive liability. People in New York are watching him play right field like, oh my God, this is one of the worst defensive players of all time. He always has been. It's nothing new. The fact that the Padres and the Yankees hit him away in left field, there's a reason for that. Because he can't play defense. So that's not a surprise. Him getting off to this slow offensive start is a surprise. And when we talk about last week with Fernando getting upset about calls not going his way and this, that, and the other thing, and him looking like he's pouting in the dugout, it's the same thing with Soto. Just because he doesn't want to talk to the media because he's frustrated that he's had a bad weekend and that his season hasn't gone the way it's going to, and the fact that he's never going to live up to that contract, that's no reason to say, oh my God, he's unhappy in Queens. He's regretting his choice. Stop.
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't say that.
But this is different. It's not about his on-field play. This is the first time he has been a villain anywhere.
This
is the first time he's actually been, because most of the time people just loved Juan Soto. Hey, it's Juan Soto. Even when he played in Philly and everything like that, it wasn't as bad.
Because he played in Washington. Nobody cares about Washington.
Exactly. This is the first time Juan is going through any type of adversity when it comes to not being beloved and getting his ass kissed by everybody in Major League Baseball. And this is the way he acted this weekend. I don't think it has anything to do with his play. I don't. And I think he's fine. I think he's comfortable there. This was the first time that was an eye-opener to him that he could potentially be a villain somewhere. That is where the conversation is. Not that he's regretting signing in New York. Not that he's off to a slow start. I mean, Manny in 2019 for the Padres was not very good.
No.
And it takes time, and it will take time for him.
But you can't expect somebody to be good their first year with a team. There's a lot of life stuff that happens. Now, as far as Soto goes, he spent last year in New York, so it's not like he's moving across country. Yeah, a lot of that stuff, a lot of that life stuff would have happened already.
First time he's a villain. First time he's a villain.
And
This is how he acted. And the thing is when he was here in San Diego and they had to wait, the buses had to wait for one and everything circled around one and they catered to one. First time that you're seeing this, and this is how he acts. It's going to be interesting to see if this continues.
Nonsense. It's not. It's overblown nonsense.
I'm just saying. First time he's a villain. When we come back, there's pizza in the conference room. And Frank has a sports thread. 97 through the Fan.
To fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the gas lamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
Lunchtime hour. And man, did we get lunch today. OG's in Carmel Mountain was nice enough to bring us pizza during the lunchtime hour because Susan from the Carmel Mountain Ranch OG's, huge fan of the show, loves 97.3 The Fan, diehard Padres fan, enjoyed our food conversations that we like to have here on The Fan, and brought us pizza.
See, this is where gimmicks work out well.
We love it. We appreciate it. We accept all food in the lunchtime hour. So a big thank you to OG's in Carmel Mountain Ranch. I texted my buddy Crumb, and I said, dude, because this is one of his spots. I mean, this is in his... My buddy Crumb doesn't... He's 40 years old, but he eats like a child. Speaking of eating like children, feeling good. Is that a Meat Lovers?
Yeah. It's like Canadian bacon, ham, meatball, sausage, all the
Nice.
good stuff.
How's the carriage on that?
The what?
The undercarriage.
Oh, perfect.
Solid.
Absolutely
No
perfect.
flop.
No flop at all.
Crust, a little thick, but...
Yeah, I will say a little thick, but we're gonna test this out
All right,
right
let's see
now.
what Frank's got here. Frank's going in for the bite. Solid bite right there. Dropped a couple of sausage pieces on the plate. What do we got?
That's pretty good.
Pretty good pizza, huh?
We'll take that.
It's
We'll
nice.
take that 10 times out of 10. I
That's
promise
right.
I will now stop eating with my mic on.
That's all right. Somebody needed to eat the pizza during the show. We can't both be eating the pizza on the show, doing the, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, my buddy Crumb, I play softball with, eats like a child. We all know this. He only eats at a select amount of establishments. He's a picky eater, like yourself, Frank. Not as picky as Frank is devouring that slice of pizza. But
Give me some time. I'll hate myself for it.
he eats at like BJ's. He's always getting a Pizookie on his Instagram. BJ's eats at OG's all the time. In-N-Out and Carl Strauss. They're like the only places he goes to. Tony wants to know, how does that compare to the Taco Bell nugget? Apples and oranges, Tony. Apples and oranges.
I'm Italian. Peach is always going to win.
That's true. They gave us a pepperoni pizza. They gave us a cheese pizza, a margarita pizza. I saw Meat Lovers pizza, and I saw a veggie one with like artichokes and stuff. Delicious. And we really appreciate Susan for being a loyal listener and for bringing us some OG's pizza. Now, Susan is not unfamiliar with Major League Baseball. Her nephew is Mickey Moniak, first-round draft pick out of La Costa Canyon High School, now playing for the Colorado Rockies. Maybe the Padres can trade for Mickey Moniak at the deadline. Never know. We're definitely going to have Mickey Moniak on next time Padres play the Rockies, Frank. Ask him about his pizza
100%.
takes.
100%.
Anyway. Are you finished chewing? You ready to go?
Am I? Hold on.
Frank's going to make sure he gets all set because it is time for today's sports thread.
Well, that's why I'm saying hold on. But I don't have it up yet. You gotta fill and stretch a little bit.
And now
I'll tell you when I have it. Come on, man.
He's got a pepperoni on one keyboard. He's got sausage on the other. He's got cheese all over the poor Scraby, dude. That's going to be a greasy mouse and keyboard over there at the workstation.
All right, now we're ready to go.
All right, time for the sports thread. Here's Frank.
Always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking
mock me.
news.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Pizza,
Yeah,
actually.
we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
Got pizza back there, and you didn't invite me, Frank?
Of course.
We
Come
were
on.
invited.
Yeah, you were invited. You're the main source of the gimmick here. All right, so I have 3 of these written down because I thought I could do this during the show, and then we had Shulman come on 2 hours earlier than we were expecting. A lot of other things have happened, so
Got to be able to adapt.
I was trying my best.
We're
Number 1.
even later than we normally do.
True. It was recently announced that that flag football will be added as an Olympic sport for the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. While some have argued the addition of flag football,
Oh, pizza's fighting back.
others are seeing it as an opportunity, namely players in the NFL. NFL owners will vote either today or tomorrow whether or not to allow NFL players to play in the Summer Olympics. The NFLPA is looking for any player under contract to an NFL team to have a chance to at least try out with a 1 player per team limit allowed to make one of the national teams. Allowing designated international players to play for their home country if they so choose, insurance policies, and cap credits, for players that get hurt, and medical care that meets NFL standards among the negotiating points. According to sources, as of this morning, the league is expected to let the players participate in the Olympics. Are you watching NFL players play flag football?
Usually not, because it gets boring after a while. We saw the 7-on-7 look of football during the Pro Bowl, and that's the best of the best, and it's just, it's boring. If they go out there and play hard, maybe. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to watch some dude from the Czech Republic try to cover Tyreek Hill. I mean, if Tyreek Hill said he wants to play, could you imagine if Tyreek Hill and Mahomes reunite on Team USA and they're playing Germany and just shoots past everybody? I mean, I wouldn't mind it. It's just, you're worried about the injuries. I mean, there's going to be a lot of non-contact injuries potentially. I think I don't have an NFL team anymore, so from that standpoint, not as caring about it. But, could you imagine you lose your number 1 receiver for 4 months because he tore something in the Olympics? I mean, that's the risk you take with all these Olympic games. But I'd rather watch the NFL players do NFL things. I'd tackle football. The problem is, unfortunately, there's not enough tackle football players in the world to make it an Olympic sport.
Oh, no. The Giants lost Golden Tate for 6 weeks. Darn. What is the Giants offense going to do?
Number 2.
I don't even think Golden Tate's on the team anymore.
He's definitely not.
There was a scary moment during Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs when official Chris Rooney was struck in the face by a high stick, and it looked like it hit him right in the eye. Rooney was able to get off the ice under his own power and was quickly ruled out for the rest of the game. TSN was happy to announce that the stick did, in fact, miss Rooney's eye. He did receive stitches and a black eye from the incident. This is an unfortunate thing that happens in sports, but hats off to all the officials that stand in the line of fire to call these games to the best of their abilities, especially since we had Mike Winters on last week, too.
That's got to be the most dangerous officiating, right? Hockey?
Yeah, definitely right up there.
Not even like anybody close. Maybe football, but like football, you can move and you're on skates.
Baseball.
There's a puck and sticks.
Foul ball comes at you quick.
Yeah, it does.
Really, really quick, especially if you're standing behind home plate.
Doesn't a puck go faster?
No.
About
About the same speed.
I
I think Zdeno Chara has the hardest shot. He's retired, but I think his hardest shot was like 106. I think that's about foul.
Hot.
That's about foul ball range.
Yeah, I mean, guys' exit velos are super high. So, scary scene. I'm glad. Good thing he's okay. I mean, that could have been devastating. That could have been a disaster.
That could have been his career.
Number 3.
The Las Vegas Raiders have a new running back this season. It has only taken OTAs before they have requested him to make a change. Raiders first-round pick Ashton Genty has been asked to ditch his pre-snap Michael Myers stance that he has done ever since high school. Genty has not pushed back against the request, stating, quote, "Sometimes you have to go with the flow. It's a small and easy change to make that may or may not make a difference. But if it's not hurting his play, is it really worth making him change it?" Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you again.
Oh man.
After 3, you got to figure it out.
I only sneezed twice. My brother sneezed like 8 times. And I tell him shut up.
Yeah, I start that after 3.
I'm trying to think from a coaching standpoint. Like, I mean, if you really want him to do something, I'm trying to think of like the technique that like values him to get that forward lean. But if it's not, as you mentioned, if it's not hurting his play, why does it really matter unless you just don't want to look at it? So
his coach said, "I want you to stand as if you were guarding me playing basketball. As if you were guarding me on the perimeter, that's how I want you to stand."
As long as they have like some like, hey, look, we think it's going to be better for your explosiveness off the ball. We think, XYZ, you're going to be able to get a running start, all that stuff. Then he should be open to changing it. But if it doesn't really change how he starts and everything like that, I don't think it really matters how you stand. I mean, I think it gets to nitpicking sometimes. Like as a coach, sometimes you want to be like, hey, look, this is the stance we want for XYZ. But at the same time, make sure you're in a comfortable stance too, because we need you to do this out of your break, out of your stance. So from that perspective, if there's a reason for it in terms of maybe making it better, then he should do it. If it's going to give him the same results, I don't know if you see why it matters.
Yeah, no, I agree. That just feels like a coaching change just for the sake of making a coaching change at this point.
Number 4.
Now we get to the stuff that I am less prepared for. That vote on whether or not the NFL players will be able to play in the Olympics comes either today or tomorrow. Another thing they're going to be voting on is the future of the tush push. The Green Bay Packers have submitted a revision to their rule proposal that would more broadly ban pushing or pulling the ball carrier anywhere on the field. In the proposal's updated language, quote, "Offensive players cannot assist the runner except by individually blocking opponents for him." The Packers also eliminated, quote, "immediately at the snap" in the updated language. Is this something that can be looked at and kind of officiated with that gray area? Because the first thing I think of is it's not necessarily the tush push. Now they're trying to eliminate how linemen, when you break through the line, you try to help that running back get the extra yard. You kind of give him a push against 2 other guys tackling him. It sounds like this eliminates that as well.
Well, that's what the rule used to be. You used to not be able to aid the running back. He was supposed to do it on his own. That's the whole Bush push. You remember that from USC when they had the illegal Bush? They were like, this is ridiculous. Like, they complained about it. So they're basically trying to go back to the old rule because they eliminated the rule that you could not aid a running back. And then teams started doing it and everything like that. And so the Packers, instead of banning the brotherly shove, are basically just saying you cannot aid the running back. I'm not opposed to that. I think that's a fair rule. It's a reason why it was a rule before, and I think they should bring it back.
I it is nice to see, I guess, like that the linemen give that little nudge when
That's
you're
cool in
trying
the
to
open
gain that
space.
half an inch. Yeah.
Yeah,
But not right at the line of scrimmage. That I agree
no.
with.
And it's a very dangerous play.
Yeah.
The brotherly shove. People don't want to admit that because they like to eliminate other things. But if we are going to be player safety, that is not a good position to be in for your neck.
No,
as a
not
defensive
at all.
lineman, especially the only way to kind of stop that is by being lower in a 4-point stance than the offensive line. It's a dangerous play. So if we're eliminating dangerous plays, I don't know why that one wouldn't be eliminated.
And then you say, oh, well, they allow it in rugby. No, rugby, they're all linked together. They all get into a proper stance. They all connect up together. Both sides do.
Right. I mean,
before they start to push.
Rugby
It's
is
not like you're off and then you go.
And rugby's not foolproof.
No, it's
they
not.
have neck injuries.
Yes.
Football's got concussions. They're both violent sports with violent injuries.
Absolutely.
Number 5.
All right, the last one. The Philadelphia 76ers just endured several months of desperately clinging to their first-round pick. If the pick had landed outside of the top 6 picks, it would have gone to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So the 76ers spent the second half of last season tanking in an effort to keep it. Last week, that officially landed them at number 3 overall. And now the 76ers have actually secured it. They think they might trade it, possibly to the Phoenix Suns in return for Kevin Durant.
Wow.
Would Kevin Durant going to the Philadelphia 76ers bring them back into the fight in the Eastern Conference?
Hey, man, trust the process. Trust the process.
Got a lot of process trust in here.
I don't know. As long as you surround KD with talent, it should be good. I don't know. They'd probably be in a position to do a little bit more damage. I mean, most of the teams make the playoffs anyway. So, I would say it probably puts them at the top of the Eastern Conference.
Well, as long as they don't put them over the Knicks, I'm okay with it. And OGs, you guys are awesome. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, OGs, for bringing us pizza today. We greatly appreciate it. A radio host in Boston, WEEI, did not appreciate what Alex Cora did over the weekend. Is he right or is he off base? We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Having a good time on a Tuesday. It's always great when you have pizza. Frank said it best. I ate pizza on the radio today. What did you do? Good stuff. Do we have a player guest tomorrow?
We might have a player guest tomorrow. There was a chance that we were going to have Blue Jays pitcher and former Padre pitcher Eric Lauer on the program today. He is unavailable today, so we are waiting on Blue Jays PR to see if we will get him tomorrow. But we definitely will have Bob Scanlon tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
We might have Eric Lauer at 11:30.
Oh, was that a
email? That's why I brought it up a minute ago. Breaking news on the show.
That'll work perfectly, actually. Yeah, so we'll have Eric Lauer at 11:30, and we'll have Bob Scanlon at 10:30.
Fun fact. First ever active Major League Baseball player I interviewed. Eric Lauer. 6 years ago.
Well, there you go.
I bet you we still have it somewhere.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I bet you we do. It was like 8 minutes. It was like his first year, one of his first interviews in the dugout, chopping it up. I forget what I remember what I asked like Matt Strom, and I remember what I asked Chris Paddock. I don't remember the questions I asked Eric Lauer.
We got to find it. That would be a fun little snippet to play like in the segment before. That would be great.
I might have it on my phone because that was back when I was using this app called TW Record. Yeah, here it is. Player profile. Lauer, 4 minutes and 7 seconds.
Oh, now we might have to play the whole thing tomorrow now. If it's just 4 minutes.
I used to be able to send it to the M drive from my phone, but I will email it to you.
All right.
Or send us a message.
We're gonna have 2 Eric Lauer interviews tomorrow.
I'm texting it to you right now. You can figure out how to get it on the computer. But I do have God, it's probably gonna sound so bad.
That's the point.
I mean,
it's a direct comparison.
It probably wasn't that great, but now it's just like it was like 6 years ago.
It's a direct comparison now.
He will not remember that, but that'll be my first question. I don't think you remember this, but play the clip of him answering something. Do you remember this interview? So, full circle, we have Eric Lauer coming on tomorrow, 11:30 after another pitch. We got a couple of pitchers. A couple left-handers, huh? Eric Lauer and Bob Scanlon? What? After Dan Shulman?
Wait a minute.
What?
Scan's a righty, is he not?
Yeah, he's a righty.
Yeah, I was going to say, the big, tall right-hander.
Yeah, that's right. No, he's not a lefty. I was thinking of Randy Jones. We do have a lineup out. We will get to the Padres lineup. But first, we really haven't a lot of time for this. How long is that clip?
2 minutes. Yeah, we could do that next segment.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll do it next
We'll
segment.
get the lineup then.
All right, let's get to the lineup. Padres lineup is out. Remember, it's a 4:07 start. I always remember the first time we played Toronto while I was working here. We had, what's it called? I remember the schedule was like a 07. They're all 07 starts in Toronto. 4:07 first pitch Pacific time. And then like Thursday is going to be a 10:07 start time, which is pretty crazy. Hang on, I got to find the Padres Twitter account. All right, starting lineup. To no one's surprise, Fernando's batting leadoff, playing right field. Luis Arraez batting second at first base. Manny Machado playing third base and batting third. Jackson Merrill in the cleanup spot plays center field. Xander Bogaerts batting fifth, plays shortstop. Gavin Sheets gets the start as the DH. He bats sixth. Jake Cronenworth bats seventh and plays second base. Jason Hayward in left field bats eighth, and Martin Maldonado batting ninth and catching. That's your Padres lineup. Hayward back in the lineup in left field today after missing the whole weekend against Seattle. So maybe J.Hay can get out there and get a knock. Tatis, Arraez, Machado, Merrill, Bogaerts, Sheets, Cronenworth, Hayward, Maldonado. One of our colleagues in Boston did not like what Alex Cora did over the weekend. Does he have a point? We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. This hour 97 through the fans brought to you by Eliminate Termite. The orange oil experts have termites. Eliminate Termite inspects, treats, and repairs termite damage, all with a full structural warranty. Our orange oil treatment is safe for people, pets, and the planet. No tent, no move out. Protect your home naturally. Schedule free inspection at eliminatetermite.com. Everybody has termites. Everybody's got termites. It's just the extent of how many you have, but you have them. So you might want to give Eliminate Termite a call. Did you know that, Frank? Everybody's got termites.
I didn't know everybody had
Everybody
termites.
has
Now I'm
termites.
wondering about myself, honestly.
You have termites. It's whether or not if you have. It's just whether or not how much you have, but you have them.
That's
your
a little
neighbors.
disconcerting there.
Yeah, well, good thing you're moving. Wait, place you're moving to probably has termites. We need a contestant for a midday sports standoff. This, which if you can call in and take me down in sports trivia, you'd be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize. A trip to see Bruno Mars in Las Vegas, including 2 tickets to his show at Dolby Live at Park MGM on September 3rd. A 2-night stay at Park MGM and a $100 gift card. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Take me down in some sports trivia. Win a trip to Vegas. Qualify to win a trip to Vegas. Take me down. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Interesting comments from one of our colleagues in Boston. WEI is our sister station, Odyssey station, in Boston. And discussing a situation over the weekend that involves Alex Cora. Was he in the right? Was he in the wrong? WEI does not think he was in the right. In fact, we'll let you hear for it, or we'll let you hear it yourself.
This thing today, missing this game, is kind of preposterous. It's crazy to me. It's like he's missing tonight's start because his daughter graduated from BC this morning. I believe the ceremony was at 10 a.m. It might have been 11. Was it 10 or 11?
It was 10 a.m. Doors opened at 8 a.m.
So the graduation was 10. They were, I believe, done by noon, which means you have a nice big party in the middle of the day. So you get to go to your daughter's graduation and have a full graduation party and just cab down the street and manage the game. And he's not going to be at the game?
You could even show up a little late.
That is crazy. That to me is crazy. It's one thing for the players who, as part of the union and the CBA, get, paternity leaves and personal leaves and all this, which is a whole nother story. But this is like a manager.
If you wanted to take 1 million photos with your family, stuff your face, you should at the latest be done by 3:30.
It's crazy.
Unless you decided ahead of time, I want to tie one on for my daughter's graduation.
You could even do it.
Day off.
He wouldn't be the first manager with the first Red Sox manager carrying a buzz into the dugout. We don't forgive it. A couple glasses of wine.
In fact, it used to be that you couldn't get hired as a manager unless you had a buzz.
You would be given an excuse. Like bottle of champagne, glass of champagne for your daughter. Yeah, fine. Come on, it's just the tone you set and the example you set for the team. It's not like, they need them there to make the pitching change or lay down the bunt. It's just the leadership and optics of the whole thing. It's like, it's a very easy chance for him to say nothing's more important than tonight's game. And it's just, he just does it by example. Nothing's more important than this game. So I'm going to go to my daughter's graduation. I'm going to show up for the game because that's what we all have to do. We have to sacrifice for the team. Like, it's just obvious,
right,
symbolic.
What's this guy's name? Mike what?
Michael Felger.
Felger. Bro, what are you doing, dude? What are you talking about?
If you ever miss another day of work in your life,
God
you
forbid.
should be ripped.
God forbid. The betterment of the team. Give me a break, bro. Give me a break.
It's May 19th. And hey,
immediately when I was listening to this, I thought exactly what Darren in the chat said. They obviously don't have kids. I don't have kids, but I had my graduation from college in 2017. My sister graduated from college in 2020, did the ceremony in 2021. My brother graduated from college last year. In what world do you think you could go to a graduation ceremony, go to the party afterward, and be done by 3 o'clock? Zero. There was zero chance of that potentially happening. It's a game in May. Who gives an S? Who cares? You know, maybe I'm not as locked in on sports as everybody else. Maybe we should we have this mentality? I mean, maybe is that the reason why we haven't won here in San Diego? Because we're not sacrificing life and limb for games in the middle of the season? I don't understand. Like, even when they were making their arguments, they had no legs to stand on any of them. I understand certain situations, right? I understand certain situations. If this is Game 7 of the World Series, you might have some type of argument for this. If it was playoffs, you might have some type of argument for this. It's in the middle of the season. Who cares? And furthermore, it's a manager job. I already think that the most overrated position in sports is the manager. Now, that being said, I'm not saying they don't do anything. I think you're more of a psychiatrist than anything else. You're managing personalities. You can miss a game as a manager, and the team doesn't even miss a beat. I mean, what's the difference? You know what they should have done? Alex Cora should have showed up 5 minutes for the game,
got out
his ass tossed, and then went home. Would that have been better to these guys? Well, at least he showed up. I mean, think about what time you got to be at the ballpark to do your job. What time does media availability start, Frank, here in town? Enlighten the people. It's usually around what time?
Between 2 and 3:30 usually.
Right. They usually allow the media to come in at 2 o'clock, and the managers are always already there. If you're not going to get the full deal, why does it matter if he goes into the game or not? They can run the game without him. I would rather have a manager that is family-oriented, family first, than maybe I got to miss everything to go to the regular season game. I don't think the players cared that he wasn't there. I don't think it really matters. Did they lose that game? Is that why they're upset?
Last night?
Yeah.
No, they did not.
They ended up winning too.
Yeah, they did.
What are we bitching about exactly? Sets the tone.
Want to guess who they played?
No, they played the Mets, didn't they?
Yeah, they kind of did.
That was yesterday's game? It wasn't like Sunday's game? Who graduates on a Monday? It had to be Sunday's game.
Oh, if it was Sunday, then I don't know. I think they won.
I'll look it up. Sunday's game for the Red Sox. Sunday, the Boston Red Sox, pending Odyssey Internet, lost to the Braves 10. That's why they're bitching, because the Braves won 10-4 on Sunday.
Oh, no.
What a shame. What a shame.
Certainly didn't get that game back the next night.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They won the next night. Who cares? I saw over the weekend, Ruben Niebla went to his daughter's graduation. I'm sure he went to the Padre game after. Maybe he did. Maybe if
fire him,
he missed. I don't care. By the way, this has happened before. I'm pretty sure the Padres coaching staff at certain points over the last 5 or 6 years had missed time for a graduation.
I remember it caused a stir in New York as Daniel Murphy, I think, had his first kid, and he was on opening day, and he missed opening day. And New York media actually went nuts. Boomer Esiason had to issue a public apology for it because he missed opening day because his kid was born.
Yeah, he said, like, you got to plan. You know,
Yes.
I remember what he said. You had to plan. Get a blank instead. I was like, Bro, you missed it. And then it comes down to like,
And that's from a former professional athlete too.
it's a little bit different like back then than it is now. I think people are starting to understand that like it's life, right? Like there's more in life than just the sport that they're playing, even though it's like their livelihood and everything like that. I mean, what you're saying is you want that individual to be loyal to you as a fan more than being there for his child. Think about how insane that sounds. Alex Cora owes it to the Red Sox fans that yell at him probably constantly more than his own daughter graduating college.
A guy who could be out of that job in any second.
And in 20 years from now, is anybody going to even remember if the Braves beat the Red Sox on May 18th, 2025? No, but his daughter's going to remember if her dad was at her graduation. She only gets to do that once. He'll play the game every single day. Insanity. Let these guys be people. Let them be humans. There's more to life. If it was a playoff game, hey, I think you would have somewhat of a gripe. Not a whole gripe, somewhat of a gripe. Graduation compared to birth of a child is a little bit different. I think there's different levels to this. But you miss me on family, being upset about family matters, missing regular season games in sports that play 162 freaking things. 162 of these things. Who gives an S? Now, we do care about the midday sports standoff. It's time to rock and roll, Frank.
Welcome to Midday Sports Standoff on the Braden Surprenant Show.
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
The ultimate head-to-head battle where sports knowledge and quick thinking collide.
No, it's no good. Are you kidding me, Mr.
Contestants will go toe-to-toe with Braden in a sports trivia deal where every correct answer brings them closer to victory.
Down the sideline! Wow! Unbelievable!
But 3 strikes and it's game over.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Can you outsmart Braden? The Midday Sports Standoff starts now.
All right, Frank, who we got today? Casey and El Cajon?
We do have Casey and El Cajon today. Casey, how you doing, bud?
Good, fellas. How you doing?
Doing well.
Yep, doing very good. All right, so today's topic, you need to know a little bit about sports, and you also need to know a little bit about geography.
Oh, boy.
So,
okay. All right.
So the topic today are sports teams that play in state capitals.
These major sports teams?
Yes, the big 4 sports teams that play in state capitals. Now,
this needs a
go ahead.
Hockey, NBA, MLB, NFL. Those
Yes.
Top, okay.
Yes, those are the 4. So, like the Islanders do not play in Albany. But if you said the Islanders, that knocks Albany off the list. So you can't say the Mets, you can't say the Yankees, you can't say the Giants or Jets or anything.
We're just talking about the city.
Yes, just the city. So you
there's
get
10 capital cities.
10 cities, 1 team. That's it.
All right.
All righty. You ready to go? Casey?
Okay, ready.
All righty. You have the first go of it.
All right. Sacramento Kings.
That is Sacramento, California, off the board.
So
Braden.
if Sacramento had, like the A's.
The Kings
it would have
and
counted.
the yes,
Okay,
it
so
would
we're
have
trying to
counted.
get the city. Denver, Colorado is the capital of Colorado. They have everybody.
Yep. Denver has 1 in each sport. Casey.
Okay, let's go. Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City with the Thunder. Yes. Braden.
I'm going to go with, otherwise known as Smashville. Nashville, the Preds, and the Titans.
Let's get the hard ones early. Nashville, yes.
It's not a hockey teams.
All right. I'm going Atlanta.
Atlanta, correct. We have not had a wrong answer yet. 5 for 5. Braden.
I would go with, again, it's a lot of hockey teams. Columbus, the Blue Jackets.
That's another one of the harder ones I thought you guys would have gotten stumped on. We're 6 for 6.
going with Salt Lake City.
That was the last one I thought would be answered. 7 for 7.
My next guess would be the Colts, Indianapolis.
8 for 8. KC, if you get this one right, you guarantee yourself a win. Or guarantee yourself a qualification.
Yeah, because ties win on the show.
I'm going to go Boston.
Congratulations, KC. You have been qualified. Braden, to see if we can go 10 for 10.
I want to say the Twins don't count, right? Because they're in Minneapolis. They're not in St. Paul. St. Paul? Dang. They're all in Minneapolis, aren't they?
KC, you want to take the last one?
Oh, man. I don't know. This one. No, I'm not. I don't know. Kansas City?
Nope.
Kansas City, yeah, they're not.
Again, you've already qualified, so we're just guessing for the last one now.
This is not one of the ones you thought were going to be the hard answer?
No, this was not one of the ones I thought would be the harder ones.
Really? I don't know.
KC, I'll give you one more guess.
They don't have teams in Raleigh, do they? They'll play in Charleston, North Carolina.
Casey, I'll give you one more crack at it.
Oh, Phoenix.
Oh, I thought we already said
Phoenix
Phoenix.
was the one.
That's so easy.
That
There's
was
like
it.
14 teams there.
KC, hang on the line. I'll get your information when we go to break. Braden, that was a good one.
That was a good one. I thought we already said Phoenix. I was like looking through. I even like after the game was over, I pulled up state capitals. I'm like going through it. I'm like Lansing, no. Jackson, no. Santa Fe, New Mexico, no. Are the Hurricanes in Raleigh? Or are they in Charlotte? This guy says they're in Raleigh. I don't think they are. I thought they were in Charlotte.
Oh, you know what? I think they are in Raleigh. But again, still, it didn't matter. He already won anyway.
Carolina Hurricanes are in Raleigh. Yeah, interesting.
So yeah, I thought Salt Lake City, Nashville, and Columbus were going to be the 3 harder ones for you guys to get, but you guys knocked them out instantly.
Like I said, there's a lot of hockey teams in state capitals.
I don't remember the Utah Jazz being a hockey team.
They have the Yeti, dude. Come on now, or whatever the heck they're called now.
The
Mammoth.
Yes, Mammoth.
Yeah, come on, dude. They have the Utah Hockey Club. Come on, bro.
Who could forget the long, prestigious franchise
The Utah
history?
Hockey Club. Now, see, that was the other one I was going to ask you at the beginning. Like, DC is not a
DC
capital.
is not
that is
a capital.
the District of Columbia. It's not the capital of anything. It's like almost its own state. It's a district. It's not part of Maryland, and it's not part of Virginia. It's just the District of Columbia. Yes, Nate remembers. Anytime I bring up the Utah Hockey Club, it's an automatic foul.
He draws the foul.
There it is. Not a lot of fouls last couple of weeks.
No, because I'm
getting used to it.
Yeah, I don't know the gimmick, and most of the time I'm working and not listening.
Oh wow! Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. We should do the state Providence Capitals of Canada.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. Why
That's
would
tomorrow's game?
Gosh.
Ah, dang it. That and the donut conversation?
Yes, we do have
I was
that.
ready to fight
that was
Frank on the donut conversation.
I was ready to go too. That was
I've
right
done
before
the
the show
donuts
started.
before. I've done the office donut like conversation, like what you don't bring to the office. I did that a couple years ago. You feel me on the whole, like, do you feel like, let me ask you this question, kind of tease for tomorrow. Do you feel like the people that bring donuts to the office don't actually like donuts, and they bring the lousiest donuts.
You have to bring the basic ones. You can't.
I
like
feel
it's
like
got to
they
be.
empty like that. They go like, this is what I think people that bring donuts to the office do. Like it's their turn. They don't really eat donuts. They just go, give me 12. I don't care. Give me 12 donuts.
Exactly.
And then you get
the 12
all the
that don't
ones
sell.
that they don't sell because they suck. And it's like, why is there a cinnamon crumb thing in here? It's disgusting.
But
bear claws out.
But
apple fritters out.
As my uncle said, the reason why they do it is because everybody loves Donut Guy. Everybody loves Donut Guy.
I only love Donut Guy if he brings good donuts. I've drawn a line in the sand on the Donut Guy conversation. I'm tired of lazy Donut Guy. And I'm not talking about here. I'm just in general. Like Saturday mornings when we got film as a coaching staff, usually the younger coach or whatever brings donuts. The good ones almost personally ask what you want. That's like next level. I don't think you need to do that, but just understand, get donuts people like to eat.
Yes.
Not the ones the donut shop can't sell.
This is our bite down for tomorrow.
Our bite down for tomorrow is I disagree with where you think the best donuts are. Chain guy. We got more to come. Talking about Manny Machado when we come back. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show. Taking up to 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will take over at 2. They got a short show. Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show at 3:07 today. 07 starts in Canada. Hey. I'm surprised we haven't made Frank do a Canadian accent the entire day. We're playing in Canada. Can you do accents?
No, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do an English-speaking accent.
I think you get a little Italian, like a little. We got the
New
Yorker one.
The New York comes out. Well, that's not an accent. That's just how I talk.
Water.
Coffee.
Yes. But you can't do international accents.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I'll work on something for tomorrow. Maybe.
We'll
see.
To be like a cheery guy for like Canada. The last time the Padres put the Blue Jays here, went to the game. I gotta find the video, but some dude like recreated the mascot head of the Blue Jays.
Nice.
What's his name? What's his name? The Blue Jays mascot's name?
The bird.
It's not the bird. Mascot name. I just put Ace.
Okay.
They like recreated like the head of Ace, and he was just walking around at Petco Park. He was actually in the Western Metal Supply Company building suites. It was Ace's head, and then it was like a jersey, and then it was like human everything else, which is like the creepy mascots. But that was the first time I've seen a road mascot at a game. Guy was wearing an Ace mascot head.
In the chat, Karen Mesher, tell your boss it's fine. You can listen to us. We said it's okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
You don't have to go to work.
Our boss says we can talk.
Our boss says it's okay.
Yeah. What Adam says goes. But anyway, I saw the mask. God, I gotta find that somewhere. My buddy filmed it. It was hilarious. He was like waving and stuff, and he had a Blue Jay head on. Toronto Blue Jay mascot was actually BJ Birdie from 1979 to 1999, and then in 2000 they came up with Ace. And then they had Diamond for 3 years. I don't even know what that is. A lot of people are waiting on their donut takes. Save those for tomorrow. I think Tessa brings up a good point in the chat. It's very subjective, and people are very passionate about their donut shops. Very much like taco shops. You got to be like, I appreciate a lot of donut places. But there's a very big point of contention in our coaching staff because a lot of them are uni dons. And uni used to be across the street from USD, hence the University of San Diego High School. And they're up the street from Rose's Donuts. Rose's Donuts, pretty legit place. Now, the fact that the school's in North County, some coaches from North County, a lot of the students are from North County, hence the football players, they believe in VG's Donuts in Cardiff. This is a big rivalry for two donut shops that don't even have the same clientele. And it just happens to be in the Cathedral coaching room. The VGs versus the Roses. I'll have my take on which side of the aisle I'm on tomorrow when we talk about donuts and Donut Guy. I wasn't going to talk about, we did it before. But there were donuts in the conference room too. We had donuts in the kitchen and pizza today. Talk about a lot of bread. But we appreciate it. Big thank you to OGs for dropping off pizza today. Susan from OGs. Big fan of the show. Big fan of the San Diego Padres. The San Diego Padres and what they are right now is drastically different than what they were when I was a kid. Drastically different. You have sold out games almost every single night. You have made the playoffs, God knows how many times in the last couple of years. You have stars on the team. And you have this new identity of San Diego in which they are no longer a, quote, football town, but more of a baseball town. There's always been a football town. When the Chargers were here and the Padres, it was all about the Chargers all the time. And anybody that disagrees with that does not remember what it was like here in San Diego before the Chargers left. It was all about the Chargers all the time. I mean, nobody wore Padres stuff. Hardly ever. And I'm sure we have a handful of diehards that are in the YouTube chat that were like, I've always been up. I'm not saying you weren't fans. But this was a Chargers-driven town and a Chargers-driven market and an NFL town. And the Padres have flipped that into being a baseball town. Not to say that the NFL is irrelevant in San Diego. There's a lot of people in San Diego that watch the National Football League. A lot of people still watch the Chargers. That's their prerogative. So I won't say it's no football in this town anymore. Some people at the station disagree with me. But I've been here my entire life. My family's been here for 4 generations. There are still people here that like football. But that being said, the Padres filled the void of the NFL as best as they've done. And I think they've done a phenomenal job. But is it the Padres, or is it the Padres signing Manny Machado? Kevin Acee wrote a very interesting article about Manny yesterday. He teased it in his daily newsletter, then he wrote it, and it was out yesterday. And I thought it was a very interesting perspective. And there was a couple of interesting perspectives to the article himself. He interviews or talks to Joe Musgrove about it. I think the Joe Musgrove 30-minute phone call that he had with his dad when they signed Machado, when the Padres signed Machado. Remember, Joe's in Pittsburgh at this time. He's a Pittsburgh Pirate. But it lays out in the article how Joe and his dad had a 30-minute conversation after the Padres signed Manny Machado, going like, wow, this team's like for real now. It finally gives some clout. The article chronicles the seismic impact Manny Machado has had on the San Diego Padres organization since his shocking free agent signing in 2019. It talks about capturing the disbelief of lifelong Padres fans, one being a Major League Baseball player, Joe Musgrove, as a Pirate. When the franchise broke tradition and landed a superstar like Machado with a then $300 million deal. That moment marked a cultural shift. The Padres, long seen as a small market team without serious postseason aspirations, were now suddenly players on baseball's biggest stage. Machado's arrival initiated a new era. Since his signing, the Padres have made 3 playoff appearances, reached the National League Championship Series in 2022, and have shattered attendance records. More than just his production on the field, 170 bombs, multiple MVP caliber seasons, silver sluggers, defensive accolades, Machado symbolized legitimacy for the Padres. I remember when this happened. I was working here at the time. I could not believe it. And there are some times where I still watch the Padres and go, Manny Machado is on the Padres. It's pretty remarkable. Just from everything that you've been through as a Padres fan. But he symbolized legitimacy for an organization that was always a small market organization, that was always in the shadow of a couple of teams north of them, that was always in the shadow of the league. Before Machado signed, the Padres historically had the worst record in Major League Baseball history. The worst. They have since moved up 2 spots. The transformation goes beyond his contract and stats. As Kevin Acee lays out, he talks about Machado's personal evolution. Underwhelming 2019 debut season, rumors of disengagement Machado has since then matured. As we mentioned, I discussed this on the roundtable last week. And he's been on this journey of self-awareness and growth. He responded to tough internal conversations with executives like A.J. Preller and the late Peter Seidler. He matured in his leadership role, gradually shifting from a sometimes aloof superstar to a more complete and engaged team leader. And a pivotal figure in that transformation has been current Padres manager Mike Shildt. With his background in organizational cultures like the Cardinal way, the Orioles way, he brought a different kind of accountability and empathy to the clubhouse. Empowered Machado to grow not just as a player, but as a man, removing the pressure of being the leader and instead building a leadership council where responsibility is shared. The result, Machado has fully bought into the process. He participates in pregame drills. He mentors young players and leading not just with performance, but with presence. Something he wasn't doing before at the beginning part of his career. Teammates like Joe Musgrove, who have now since that conversation he had with his dad on the phone for 30 minutes, who has now become a teammate of Manny Machado, has affirmed that Machado has become the rock of this team, a leader who now does the difficult, often thankless work that a true captain embraces. Machado, for his part, says he's simply trying to be great, driven not by money or obligation, but by the love of the game and desire for greatness. He recognizes that leadership is less about status and more about effort, humility, and daily consistency. I talked about this a couple of years ago. The Padres need to find an identity. The Padres need to find what does it mean to be a San Diego Padre? And this leadership council that they created and this kind of building block of a foundation has been started with Manny Machado. Sure, you can throw money around, you can offer a lot of big contracts, but you needed that first big splash in order to happen to really give you legitimacy. And the thing is like, it's not just Manny. Like, I think Manny is the big difference maker. I think he's the big moving block of the Padres. I don't think the Padres can be what they are right now without Manny Machado. And I think he's grown tremendously. Since the first time he was in the Padres clubhouse as a 26-year-old, still relatively young Major League Baseball player that had grown up in the Orioles organization, that felt betrayed for them trading him at the deadline to Los Angeles, who felt like he was a mercenary in LA to try and improve it in his new town, adjusting to new things, where he was still trying to figure things out as a young baseball player, not necessarily in a sense of putting up numbers, because he'd always had done that, but going from like the center focal piece to now like a leadership role. I think what he's been able to do and what the Padres have been able to get out of Manny Machado as a leader in this whole sense, because Manny doesn't want to be like the guy that's like the focal point of the team, rah-rah guy. That's why his leadership council is great for the Padres, because he can help lead, but he doesn't have to be the centerpiece. That's not his MO. He likes to play baseball. He likes to focus on baseball. He doesn't want to be like the, like Aaron Judge is the captain, where they got to go again. They have to go ask. They ask him everything that's going on. He's done a little bit better job of doing some of that. But this leadership council that they created and this kind of building blocks of the organization, I think Manny Machado permanently changed the Padres. I don't think this goes away when these players move on in their lives. And I think Manny's the focal point of this. Now, is he the beginning? He's not the beginning. But I think he's the focal point. I think it starts with the moves that AJ made that everybody said were a disaster. I think from a business standpoint and getting people interested in the team were all the right moves. Were they the best moves on the field? No. Like trading away Trey Turner is probably not one of the best moves you could make. But you brought in Will Myers, you brought in Justin Upton, you brought him back. You showed that you were willing to spend money and you were willing to try to make your team the best you can. And you brought in names. And when you bring in names, you bring in casual people that want to be interested in the product. That set the tone. So it started with Peter Seidler and Ron Fowler and AJ Preller by doing all these crazy moves that never looked very good. I've always defended in a sense of they needed to make those moves to eventually get to this point because they were a disaster before they showed up. A disaster. I mean, you wouldn't even pay attention to Padres baseball until, you'd pay attention for like the first month, and then midway through June, it was, why am I still watching this team? It's time for Charger OTAs. And so they needed to do that. Even though it didn't work, they flipped all those guys for young, controllable prospects. They ultimately ended up either keeping or flipping for other additional players. It was the start of what was going to be something special. So you look at those moves, I think they were good moves in a sense of building this. Then you get, again, with the Will Myers, then you sign a World Series champion in Eric Hosmer. He was not someone to build a team around, but it gave you that legitimacy of they're willing to spend money, and here's a star at the time joining the Padres. I remember when that sign went down. I mean, people all now just like to MF Eric Hosmer because of the way things ended. But the reality is there wasn't a single one of you that was upset that the Padres signed Eric Hosmer. You might be disappointed in what he did in terms of overall production, because I do think the Padres would like to overhype a lot of the players that they bring in. But he was necessary. Maybe it was him that helped out getting Manny Machado. It's Yonder Alonso being a former Padre telling his brother-in-law how great it is to be in San Diego. But adding guys like Eric Hosmer and Will Myers and, some of these veteran players that were, quote, close to being stars is one thing. But when you are in a free agency class that was the top guys being superstar 26-year-old baseball players in Manny Machado and Bryce Harper, and for a team like the Padres to sign one of them is a huge deal. So it started with the slow build, and it accelerated with Manny Machado. And what Manny Machado has done as a Padre, but more importantly, as he has grown, I think he has changed the trajectory of this organization forever. I think a lot of people are afraid of going back to being the 2010 Padres. What they've established now on how to do things and with the young players that they have in the organization, like the Leo DeVries and, you can see with Jackson Merrill and some of the players that they have drafted and signed internationally, I don't think you're ever going to get back to that position. You might have bad seasons. Everybody does. But I don't think it's going to be the laughable, awful Padres that we saw 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. 2003, that was a disaster. I think those days are gone. And I think Manny Machado has a big reason for why those days are in the rearview mirror. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We're going to continue our conversation of how important Manny Machado is to the San Diego Padres and what he has done for the trajectory of this organization when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show on San Diego's number sports station 97.3 The Fan. 124 on a Tuesday. Padres getting ready to take on the Toronto Blue Jays coming up at 4:07 p.m. Pacific time. Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show at 3:07. So people trying to, I knew that this is going to trigger people, trying to tell me I was a Padres town always. And they brought up the years that the Padres went to the World Series and they won the division. Yeah. When the team in town wins a division, people are going to be about that team. It's when they are not winning. And when the Chargers were lousy, people were still all over the Chargers here in town. It's always been like that. But what do I know? 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Manny Machado being a big reason why the Padres are what they are right now. It was a very interesting article from Kevin Acee. And it was a lot of, I mean, it lays out a lot of facts. I mean, his leadership and what he is and everything like that. And when you have, and it's interesting, it's like you've had Manny here since 2019 and with Fernando. And you have Fernando, and I've mentioned this every time. He's the most athletic player on the field and the best player on the field every single night. Which is true. And you have young phenom in Jackson Merrill. The reality of this team is it goes where Manny goes. Manny is the rock and the focal point of this team. I just love that he has embraced this new veteran leadership role that he did not have at the beginning part of his Padres career. He wasn't always like this. He's improved mightily. They talk about him, being a father now. I think that's really helped him in life. I think it's just made him, he just seems so much more happy when we go down to the clubhouse. Not to say he wasn't before, but it seems like he's got this new lease on life, and he's done a great job, I think, for the Padres and being that foundation and being that rock and being that player that has drastically changed the Padres organization for the better, and I think permanently. I think what they have set up here in San Diego with this leadership council, you can learn more about if you read the article that Kevin Acee put out in the Union Tribune about Manny Machado, is you have now got an identity for the Padres in which every player that comes in will not be talking about this is the way we did things here, and now it will be how do we do things here in San Diego. And when players come up through the minor leagues, they understand what it's like to be a Padre and what it's like and what is expected of them in a Padres uniform. They used to never have that. I was advocating for this years ago, and I wasn't the only one. It doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen in a year. It takes multiple years to get to that point. And the Padres were so down bad in this department before the new ownership and before Manny Machado showed up that it was going to take a lot more time than I think fans really wanted to admit. And right now, you're at the beginning of what this is. You're at the beginning of the new era of San Diego Padre baseball. You're at the beginning of the Padres being a contender every single year. And I think it will continue with guys like Lou DeVries. I think it will continue with guys like Ethan Salas whenever they do come up, which might be in the next couple of years. I think it will continue with whoever the new draft picks are, the new international signings are. And as guys start to retire that were part of this core, the Joe Musgroves, the Yu Darvishes, the Jake Cronenworths, the Manny Machados, the Xander Bogaerts, I think it's going to get replaced with the same thing. Then you're going to be continuing this cycle for the Padres, which is exciting, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. NFL owners have approved a new thing that we talked about in the sports thread. We'll tell you what it is when we come back, plus a preview of the Blue Jays and the Padres series as we finish off the Braden Surprenant show for a Tuesday leading up to Gwen and Chris on San Diego's #1 sports station 97 through the Fan. 1:35 on a Tuesday. Get you ready for Padres baseball. Padres and Blue Jays starting things off at 4:07. Eco Water SoCal Padres preview or Padres pregame show at 3:07. Earlier today, I interviewed Dan Shulman, the play-by-play man of the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to replay that for you to get you a preview of the Blue Jays and the Padres. Here's from earlier in the show, Dan Shulman on the Braden Surprenant Show. His name is Dan Shulman. He joins me on the Braden Surprenant Show. Dan, what's going on? How's your Tuesday going?
Well, thank you for all that, Braden. I really appreciate that. You just made my Tuesday a little better saying all those nice things. So I appreciate it. But all is good. We had an off day yesterday. And as you know, baseball announcers and players treasure off days. So recharge the batteries and back at it tonight.
Well, Dan, we've had a handful of broadcasters on our show. I do play-by-play at the University of San Diego. I like to pick the brains a little bit of the play-by-play men that have done such a great job before we break down the team. You've had a great career. What is the best advice you would give a young up-and-coming play-by-play man? I know your son is one of those as well, but what kind of advice would you give to anybody that's in our audience that's looking up to potentially be a play-by-play broadcaster?
So I give the same two bits of advice. I get asked some variation of this a fair bit. One is don't get into this unless you're willing to work hard. And I'm sure you work very hard, but like if somebody's 17 years old and boy, that looks like the coolest job and I want to do that, awesome, but it's a lot of work. It's, as you know, you're preparing for your team and the other team, or like when I'm at ESPN, you're preparing for two teams who aren't, quote, your team. It's a lot of work, a lot of flying around, a lot of early flights or late flights. And it takes a lot of, I believe it takes a lot of preparation. I really admire those who put a lot of work in, and I believe I can watch another game and tell who's putting the work in. So that would be one. The second one would be think of the crew that you work with just like a team, whether it's a baseball team, basketball team, doesn't matter. They're all your teammates, the analyst, the reporter, the producer, the director, the camera people, the tape people, the audio people, et cetera, et cetera. They're all your teammates. And it takes a lot of people to put a good show on the air. So at the end of the day, or even at the beginning of the day, I'm not thinking about, boy, how can I make myself look good or anything like that. I'm thinking about how can we have a good show. And I think being a good teammate is very important.
Dan Shulman, Blue Jays broadcasters, going to give us a preview of the upcoming series between the Padres and the Blue Jays from the side of the Blue Jays. There's one other thing I wanted to ask you just from a play-by-play sense, and that's, when you have to go into non-sports news during a broadcast, you had a moment in time where you had to sit on and then break the news as you were on Sunday Night Baseball when the death of Osama bin Laden happened. How were you able to go through that? And as a broadcaster, what was that moment like for you in your career?
Honestly, it was probably the trickiest night of my career on a number of levels. So first of all, I'm not really trained in news. I'm trained in sports.
Right.
Second of all, I'm Canadian. And I wanted to be incredibly respectful and careful with my words. I just didn't want to say the wrong thing. So I played it very, very safe. If you go back and listen to it, not that you should, and not that I have in many years, I played it incredibly safe, just reported the news. So here's what happened. Bobby Valentine was part of our Sunday night crew. I was working with Bobby and Oral Hershiser. Bobby was sitting beside me and with his elbow, and showed me his phone, showed me a text on his phone. And the whole text was, "We got bin Laden." And I looked at him and he looked at me, and I'm sure we both had wide eyes. But the Phillies are batting in the middle of the seventh inning or whatever it is. It was Mets and Phillies in Philadelphia. So I go on talkback, which you know what that is, so I can talk to the truck without it going out over the air. And I said, "Hey guys, anybody got anything on the bin Laden story I just saw?" And I got an answer back, "Yes, don't say anything, we're corroborating." Meanwhile, another pitch is thrown or a ball's put in play. The game is still going on. And it's this is not in the play-by-play handbook. So we sat on it for a while, and then I gave what I knew. And I had help from the truck. Again, they were, through their sources, I'm trying to balance this and calling the game at the same time. So I just said, hey, ABC News is reporting because ABC and ESPN are all in the Disney family. So ABC News is reporting, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what we know, and on we go. And then we get back to the baseball game. And then within minutes, maybe not even minutes, everybody's got a phone, right? Everybody knows. And now the ballpark is going, the buzz in the ballpark is unbelievable. People are telling each other, and a USA chant breaks out. And now everybody but the players know, because the players are on the field or in the dugout, and they don't know what's going on. And that became a story. And eventually, of course, they found out from camera people or security guards or ushers or whatever the case may be. And then, of course, because it's baseball, that game, I think, went 13 innings or something like that. So we were on the air for a couple of hours. But it was, to be in all honesty, Braden, I think I could have done better than I did, but I played it incredibly safe. Just wanted to give the information, and how you juggle that in a baseball game, I still don't know, but we did the best we could.
Yeah, truly remarkable, and what an interesting experience that was. Dan Shulman, Blue Jays broadcaster, joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Thanks again for enlightening us on a little bit of the broadcasting side. Let's talk about the Blue Jays. Blue Jays have won 6 of the last 10 games. What has been the biggest factor for them in their recent upswing?
Well, for the first 6 of those 10, I think they won 5 of them. They started hitting. Like, overall, this team's been a little disappointing this year. They've been right in games. Like, they just played the Tigers 3 one-run games, but they lost 2 of them. It's one of those, I think their record's 22-24, if I'm not mistaken. And it's one of those, like every team, you remember the ones that got away more than the ones that you stole. But it feels like they should be a little bit better than they are. Not a ton better. This is not the same team from 21 and 22 that hit like crazy and had so much young talent. They're not as talented now. Some guys are older in key spots, like their starting rotation. Guerrero and Bichette are still Guerrero and Bichette. But this is a team, I think, that if they play well, can be a playoff team, but I don't think this is the same level of talent they had a few years ago. So what's going better lately is, for several games, they finally started hitting. I mean, they had like 18 games in a row where they didn't score more than 4 runs, something like that. Bichette has gotten hot. Dalton Varsho's come off the IL. He had shoulder surgery in September, so he missed the first month this year. And he's hit 6 home runs in 12 games, which they have desperately needed. And then some of their Alejandro Kirk is swinging the bat very well. And even like a complimentary guy like Ernie Clement is swinging the bat very well. Some guys have started swinging it better. But in some of these games, the hitting was great, and they didn't get a good start from their pitcher. Or the hitting was great, and the starting pitcher was good, and then the bullpen blew up. They've had trouble getting everything on the same page at the same time. It's all there, but they've got to kind of get it all going at once if they're going to win more than they lose this year.
Dan Shulman, Toronto Blue Jays play-by-play broadcaster, joining us on the Braden Surprenant Show. Not too long ago, they were able to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to sign an extension. The Blue Jays have kind of been the runner-up for a lot of different signings in free agency. How important is it for the Blue Jays, or how important was it for the Blue Jays to make sure Vlad Guerrero Jr. stays with the organization for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I think they kind of had to do it. And as you know, they paid a lot to get it done. 14 years and $500 million. And, that's been compared in some circles to the Tatis contract, right? Which I think was 14 and $340, if I'm not mistaken. Now, there's a little inflation there because things always go up. And is this year, what year is this for Tatis? Of the 14-3, maybe
it's like
4
3 or 4.
Like, but yeah, so, a little inflation. But listen, Tatis is a right fielder. Vladdy's a first baseman. So, in that sense, you got to give Tatis a little bit of an edge. So, but they kind of had to get it done. As you said, they went after a number of high-profile guys who they didn't get. The only thing I will say to that is, like, just about every team didn't get those guys, right? It's just that the Blue Jays seemed to finish second or third a lot. But, they were in on Ohtani. They were definitely in on Roki Sasaki without question. And they have signed some guys. I mean, George Springer and Kevin Gausman and Anthony Santander, they've got a big payroll. They spent $260 million this year, which is by far the most they've ever spent. But I think they needed to get Guerrero done because they didn't have anybody remotely close in the system who could provide that kind of thump going forward. Like the question was, okay, if you don't sign him, then what? Who's hitting, whether it's second, third, whatever, who's hitting in the middle of the order next year? And the fan base, I've been pretty grumpy the last couple of years. A bad year last year, and then a couple of years before that, they make the playoffs, but they go out in 2 games both times. And I mean, in painful fashion, like stuff you couldn't dream up if you were trying to. So I think ownership made a decision that they probably went well beyond their comfort zone and said, we got to sign him. And they did. So, whether Bichette gets signed is another story. He's up at the end of the year as well. I've always kind of put the two of them in a slightly different category. It's always felt like Guerrero, truly would be happy to spend his entire career in Toronto, if the contract was right and if the team looked like a winner. And Bichette may be the same, but Bo's always felt a little bit more like a bet on yourself kind of guy. And let's see. So right now, relative, I think, to their ceilings, Bichette's actually having the better year. He's swinging it really well right now. Vladdy has taken a lot of walks and hitting for a decent average, but they need the pop. They need more than 5 home runs in 46 games. Like if this team, another one of the ifs, there's a few ifs. If this team's going to be a playoff team, he's got to drive in 100 plus. He's got to be a thumper like he was last year.
Dan, you kind of answered. My next question was going to be about the fan base. I mean, you mentioned in 2021, very young team, high ceiling. It looked like the future was really bright for the Toronto Blue Jays, and then it kind of flipped the last couple of years. I mean, you mentioned them being a little disgruntled. I mean, how's the support been in terms of what they've done, move-wise during the off seasons and how they've been able to construct this team? Again, you mentioned a little disgruntled, but what's the patience level at right now with this fan base?
So the off season after 22, before 23, it feels like the front office decided they were too imbalanced, too right-hand hitting, too focused on the offense, not enough on the defense and the base running and the fundamentals. So Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., both of whom you're very familiar with, were both traded away that offseason. So, and they changed the look of the team. Kevin Kiermaier came in and had a very good year. Brandon Belt came in, but the team just felt all of a sudden they struggled to score runs. The defense was really good, but they struggled to score runs. And now after a couple of years of that, I think they're trying to swing back the pendulum into the middle a little bit more. They're still a very good defensive team, but they went out looking for more offense. Anthony Santander was almost a guy they had to have. Like there wasn't that much on the free agent market this year. They got him. Unfortunately, he's hitting 187. Like he's really struggling. The one move that surprised me in the offseason was they picked up Andres Jimenez from Cleveland, a great defensive second baseman, but not a good hitter. And he's on the IL right now. He'll be back soon. He's been great defensively, but hasn't hit well. So that to me is a bit of an issue that they went in that direction. And hopefully he can turn it around and swing the bats better. But the fans, they really got angry after the 22 season into 23 when the team just didn't hit as much. And then last year it went down again and they hit even less. So this offseason, I think, was good. Getting Santander. I mean, Jimenez will help. I'm just not sure if he's going to help offensively. Jeff Hoffman at the back of the bullpen. They bring back Jimmy Garcia. And the Max Scherzer one hasn't worked out yet because he's been hurt. But like they had a good offseason. They didn't get Soto, but they brought in some guys who will help. But I think the fans are still kind of grumpy with the front office. A bad crowd for the Jays is kind of 22 to 24,000. A good crowd, they get 40. They fill it up. The capacity is just over 40. We're lucky. It's a big city and it's a big country, and a lot of people come to Toronto from all over Canada to watch the Blue Jays play, and we see a ton of them in Seattle and Minnesota and Cleveland as well. And I just want for the fans that they can turn this into a winner. You go back to 2021, as you talked about. They were a team that almost everybody was betting on to win a World Series in the next few years. And obviously it hasn't happened. They haven't even won a playoff game. They've been in, but they haven't won a game.
Dan, last thing I got for you, starting pitcher tonight, Chris Bassett. What should Padres fans expect to see out of Bassett as he twirls it against our starting 9?
Kitchen sink, sinker, cutter, splitter, and then a little bit of everything else. 6 or 7 pitch guy. Some people say 8, but he's kind of He's kind of ditched a couple. He does not throw hard. He'll top out at 92, but he is very smart, very crafty. If he is on the edges, up, down, left, right, in, out, changing speeds, keeping them off balance, he can be great. I think he brings like a 3.16 ERA into his start here tonight. If he makes mistakes, he'll get hit more than most because he doesn't have the power. He doesn't have the velocity. Very slow curveball, like 70 miles an hour. It might be the slowest curveball in baseball, and he'll get some really funny swings on it. But a guy who knows what he's doing out there, and if he is on, all of a sudden, it's through 6 innings, and everybody's like, "Man, I really should have got that guy. I felt pretty good at the plate," and everybody's 0 for 3. He can do that when he's hitting the corners.
Dan, I really appreciate your time. I know you got to get prepared for this big series. I know you've probably already done a lot of that preparation. Thanks again for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
You got it, Braden. All the best.
That was Dan Shulman on with us earlier today, one of the best on the air that you can imagine. We replayed it. There's a couple of things that we had to do behind the scenes to make, so that's why we replayed the interview. We're not going to replay a lot of interviews, but I thought this one was a really good one to play with Dan Shulman. But again, we're working a little radio magic behind the scenes so we could be able to post it later on from a technical side. So for everybody that was in the YouTube chat that saw it earlier. But anyway, we really appreciate him coming in and joining the show. It's a great get by Frank Marchese. Good job. We got another couple good gets again tomorrow. Bob Scanlon, Eric Lauer joining the show. And something that we talked about on the sports thread, Frank, has already been voted on. The NFL players have been okayed to play flag football in the 2028 Olympics.
Well, congratulations. Hope you enjoy, and
does that
bring
move
home
you?
a gold medal.
Does that move you at all?
No.
You could be tuned in?
No, it doesn't.
What year are the Olympics here? 2028? I got a lot of time left.
As is becoming my catchphrase, apparently.
What?
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care.
That and the microphone swing. The microphone swings.
Like I said, I gotta get like a Chris Collinsworth slide in with the microphone swing.
Right.
Also, we got to do the whole.
I need the meme with the pub.
Yeah,
with the pub. All those memes, people freaking out on some of that stuff. Great. We got to get him back on during the basketball season.
Would be a lot of fun. Yes.
He never does. He's rarely out on the West Coast. He's mostly doing ACC and SEC games of the week. God, if he does an Aztec game ever, get him on. Dan Shulman at Viejas Arena would feed families. But anyway, I thought that was a great get. We've been on a little bit of a roll here. Frank works at it. I throw out some ideas. Frank is busy typing away like the cat meme on the keyboard.
Yep.
And
100%.
Sometimes we hit, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes we get the follow-up, casting a wide net, trying the best we can to bring you guys interesting interviews, to say the least.
Still working on trying to get local San Diego kid Nick Allen for Friday. Still not confirmed on that, but we are trying.
We do have a couple tricks up our sleeve.
Yes, we do. We do have.
We have the Booney connection because he is married to Brett Boone's daughter, which I think is probably the best question I can ask him of all the interviews this week. What's it like being Brett Boone's son-in-law? And what is the Braves-Rangers game series going to be like? Can't wait for that. Can't wait to talk with you guys tomorrow. Bob Scanlon, Eric Lauer will join us. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. Gwynn and Chris coming up next. San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. See ya.